Chapter 1576. Swish. Qin Feiyang suddenly raised his head, stared at the woman, and said with a sinister smile, "I will make you pay with your blood, and make the main pagoda disappear." At this moment, he was like a wild beast that had gone berserk, and his scarlet eyes were filled with hostility. Clang! The next moment, a ray of light swept out from his body. It was Chang Shui. At this moment, Chang Shui seemed to be ignited by Qin Feiyang's anger, exuding a world-destroying divine power. The woman's face was full of disbelief. Not long ago, she had heard of the power Chang Shui displayed in Peach Blossom City. She knew that this was a very terrifying divine artifact. However, every divine artifact needed divine power to revive. The lowest requirement was the power of a pseudo-god. Without divine power, no matter how powerful the divine artifact was, it could not exert its power. It was because of this that she was able to attack Qin Feiyang without any fear. But she never expected that this dagger would revive on its own. The terrifying sharpness tore through the void. The ground and the walls were shattering. The outside of the pagoda was also crazily cracking. Wang Yuanshan, Pei Yunchang, and Shirlan were all waiting outside the pagoda. Suddenly, they saw that the pagoda was actually cracking, and their faces were full of surprise. What's going on? This pagoda has been tempered with the power of a pseudo-god. How could it be broken? Shirlan's face was full of disbelief. Could it be that Qin Feiyang revived that dagger? Wang Yuanshan said. His Sea of Qi had been repaired. His injuries were almost healed. Impossible. Not to mention that he is now a cripple. Even if his cultivation is still there, with his strength, he can't revive that divine artifact. Pei Yunchang said. Then what's going on? Seeing the cracks on the pagoda getting bigger and wider, Wang Yuanshan was very surprised. In this old man's opinion, it should be the pagoda master torturing Qin Feiyang. Pei Yunchang said. Now, it seemed that only an explanation was the most reasonable. Boom. Crack. But before he finished speaking, accompanied by a series of earth-shaking loud sounds, the golden divine pagoda in front of them instantly shattered. Following closely, a blood-curdling scream rang out. This voice, Pei Yunchang and the other two trembled both physically and mentally. The owner of this scream was actually their tower master. How was this possible? But in the next moment, they saw a bloody figure fly out of the dust like a meteor. If it wasn't their pagoda master, who else could it be? Damn it! The three of them roared angrily and rushed forward to catch the woman. Immediately, the three of them turned pale with fright. There was a ghastly wound on the woman's chest, as if she had been cut by a sharp weapon. She had almost been cut in half. Shirlan quickly took out a healing pill and placed it in the woman's mouth. "My lord, who did it?" "Qin Feiyang," Pei Yunchang asked. The woman turned a deaf ear and stared at the dusty area in front of her. Her blood-stained face was full of fear. "That's right, it's me." A cold voice sounded. Qin Feiyang walked out of the dust, step by step. The Chang Shui in his hand was still dripping blood. His bloody hair danced wildly. The word "kill" between his eyebrows emitted a bloody light. A pair of scarlet eyes, like a sea of blood, was floating up and down. At this moment, he seemed to be possessed by the god of death. Pei Yunchang and the other two false gods couldn't help but feel a sense of fear in their hearts. "What's going on? It's Qin Feiyang. Bastard, what are you doing?" The commotion here also alarmed the entire pagoda. Whether it was the elders or the disciples of the pagoda, they all rose into the air and surrounded Qin Feiyang and Pei Yunchang. Pei Yunchang's expression changed. He quickly shouted, "Except for the elders, don't come over. Step back." Chang Shui had already recovered. Even he, the deputy pagoda master, had no confidence, let alone the disciples. What a powerful aura. I can feel it even through the barrier. Outside, Willow Tree and Yu Huang looked at the pagoda in surprise. Wait. This is Chang Shui's aura. Willow Tree's eyes suddenly flickered. Yu Huang asked, "In other words, Qin Feiyang has already made his move." "That's right." Willow Tree nodded. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go." Yu Huang laughed sinisterly. She transformed into a beam of light and sped towards the boundary with lightning speed. "Pagoda Master, Chang Shui has recovered. Today is your end. But then again, how did Chang Shui recover? Could it be that there are other false gods around the young master? Willow Tree was suspicious. Pagoda Master, what are you doing? At the same time, 8 figures rushed to Pei Yunchang's side and looked at the woman covered in blood with shock. These 8 people were men and women, old and young. But without exception, they all emitted the aura of false gods. Without a doubt, they were the elders of the Pagoda Master. In addition to Wang Yuanshan, Shilan, Pei Yunchang and the woman, the 12 false gods of the Pagoda Master were all here. It's Qin Feiyang. Kill him for me. The woman slowly stood up and glared at Qin Feiyang with hatred as she shouted. What? Qin Feiyang can actually hurt the Pagoda Master. Wait. That dagger. Could it be the dagger that cut the green rainbow sword? The 8 of them were shocked. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and attack. The woman shouted. Pei Yunchang whispered. Pagoda Master, that dagger has recovered. We'd better avoid it first. What are you afraid of? Our Pagoda Master has 12 false gods. Can't we kill a mere war emperor? Attack. The woman roared. Attack. Pei Yunchang raised his eyebrows and shouted. Immediately, Shilan and the 8 elders, led by Pei Yunchang, rushed toward Qin Feiyang. Wang Yuanshan looked at the woman and asked, Pagoda Master, where is you are? She should be in Qin Feiyang's hands. The woman said. Damn Qin Feiyang, I'll fight you to the death. Wang Yuanshan roared and also charged toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang stood proudly and glanced at the group of people with ridicule in his eyes. The burning of the purple gold dragon blood had completely healed his energy reserve. However, that was not the point. The point was that Chang Shui had recovered on his own. He knew how terrifying Chang Shui was after he recovered. Back then, even the fire dragon and the giant python, the 2 true war gods, were no match for Chang Shui, let alone these false gods. Boom. However, before Pei Yunchang and the others could fight with Qin Feiyang, a loud sound suddenly came from the sky. The group of people immediately looked up. They saw the willow tree and Yu Huang standing above the divine power barrier. Damn it, they really followed us. Pei Yunchang's expression changed. Because the willow tree and Yu Huang were recovering their divine weapons at this moment. It was the 7-star sword that was recovering. Although Baiming Yu Huang also has a divine weapon, if she awakens as well, her speed would be much slower. On the contrary, it worked together with the willow tree to recover the 7-star sword, so it was naturally much faster. Clang! The 7-star sword buzzed and trembled, exuding a destructive power. The disciples in the main tower below panicked at this moment. The divine weapon recovered, and the barrier could not stop it at all. Even the entire main tower would be turned into ashes in an instant. The woman shouted, Pei Yunchang, go and stop them. Pei Yunchang nodded and immediately rushed into the sky. Did I say you could go? But at this moment, Qin Feiyang sneered and Chang Shui suddenly turned into a flash of light and swept toward Pei Yunchang's back like lightning. It was piercing. Pei Yunchang's expression changed, and he quickly turned around to avoid it. At the same time, the willow tree and Yu Huang decisively attacked. Kill! 1 man and 1 beast roared and the 7-star sword tore through the sky and slammed into the barrier. There was no suspense. With a loud crack, the divine power barrier that Pei Yunchang had set up shattered on the spot. Immediately after, the 7-star sword carried thousands of sword chi and rushed toward the main tower below. You are unforgivable. The woman was furious. Deputy Tower Master, quickly recovered the divine weapon. Wang Yuanshan was extremely anxious. If the 7-star sword attacked, none of the disciples in the main tower would be able to survive. Pei Yunchang waved his hand, and with a loud clang, a divine axe swept out from his body. The divine axe was the size of a palm, with a black dragon engraved on the handle. It was completely black and the axe blade flickered with a cold light. At the same time that Pei Yunchang took out the divine axe, Wang Yuanshan shouted, Shilan, you guys watch Qin Feiyang. I'll go help the Deputy Tower Master. Finished. He took a step forward and landed beside Pei Yunchang. The 2 looked at each other and nodded, and the power of the false god immediately surged toward the divine axe. Rumble. The divine axe carried an ear-piercing sound of wind and thunder as it rushed into the sky and expanded in the wind. In an instant, a giant axe that was hundreds of feet long appeared out of thin air. The black dragon on the handle seemed to be coming to life, emitting a monstrous divine power. Sherlan and the others also did not dare to be careless for a moment, firmly locking onto Qin Feiyang. But Qin Feiyang had no intention of making a move, and looked up at the giant axe. The woman roared, "Cripple them for me." "Yes." Pei Yunchang nodded, and with a wave of his hand, the giant axe rushed into the sky and met the seven-star sword. Clang! Clang! The two divine weapons met in an instant, crazily colliding in the void, and the flames lit up half the sky. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he transmitted his voice to the willow tree and Yu Huang. "I want that divine axe, don't destroy it." "Destroy it? Young master, you think too highly of the seven-star sword." The divine axe in Pei Yunchang's hand is called the Black Dragon Battle Axe, and it is on the same level as the seven-star sword. At most it will be a draw. No. If it's a stalemate, Yu Huang and I will lose. After all, Pei Yunchang's strength is stronger than ours. Willow Tree said. "It's okay, you guys can hold them back, leave the others to me." Qin Feiyang said. "Why do you have to hold them back? With your current state, it's easy to kill them." Yu Huang was suspicious. After all, Chang Shui, who had recovered on his own, was not only ridiculously strong, but also had the power of the heavens. To deal with these people from the main tower was as easy as killing chickens and cows. They set a trap for me. Of course I can't let them die so easily. Qin Feiyang licked his lips, retracted his gaze, and looked at Sherlan and the others. Sherlan and the others' pupils suddenly shrank. "My anger is not something you can bear. Are you ready?" Qin Feiyang laughed. Chapter 1577. I'm not surprised. Because if you only have one divine artifact, then your main tower doesn't deserve to be one of the major forces in the Black Tortoise world. However, in front of Chang Shui, no matter how many divine artifacts you have, it's useless. Qin Feiyang smiled contemptuously. He grabbed Chang Shui and charged toward the old woman. "How dare you?" The old woman was enraged. Clang! A ray of light shot out from between her eyebrows. It was a jade pendant the size of a baby's palm. It was as white as jade with a snow-white divine dragon engraved on it. Before it was fully awakened, one could already feel a terrifying dragon's aura. "Awaken with me!" the old woman shouted. Sherlan and the others immediately channeled their false god power into the jade pendant. How magnificent was it when 9 false gods worked together! The jade pendant instantly recovered half of its power. Sherlan stared at the murderous Qin Feiyang and thought, although that dagger is terrifying, Qin Feiyang is only a combat emperor. As long as we don't clash with that dagger, killing him won't be a problem. That's right. We'll kill Qin Feiyang. I don't believe that his body is also made of divine iron, the old woman said telepathically. The other 7 nodded, their eyes filled with killing intent. The old woman waved her hand, and the jade pendant shot out with a monstrous aura toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. He raised Song Shui and slashed at the jade pendant. The sharp edge tore through the void. The jade pendant and Chang Shui were about to collide. Suddenly, under the control of the old woman, the jade pendant rotated in the air and circled around to Qin Feiyang's back. Like lightning, it shot towards Qin Feiyang's back. "What?" Qin Feiyang panicked. "Little bastard, it's still too early for you to fight us." Sherlan sneered. The old woman and the others also sneered. Even if they were in Qin Feiyang's shoes, they would be caught off guard by such a sudden attack. Not to mention an ant-like combat emperor. This kid is definitely going to die. However, the panic on Qin Feiyang's face suddenly disappeared, and was replaced by a strong sense of mockery. He looked at the 9 people and said, "I knew you would do this." As he spoke, the battle character secret art and armor were instantly activated. Following closely, under the furious gazes of the 9 people, Qin Feiyang grabbed the jade pendant. Even though he had the battle symbol art and the armor, the jade pendant was in an awakened state, while the armor was not. The divine might that the jade pendant gave off, as well as the terrifying shockwaves, sent Qin Feiyang flying, crashing into the ground below. A huge crater suddenly appeared. The arm under the armor was instantly shattered. His body was also cracking. Dragon blood flowed out from the gaps in the armor like rain. However, the moment his arm shattered, Qin Feiyang sent the jade pendant to the castle. The old woman immediately felt that she had lost contact with the jade pendant. There's even a divine armor. Sherlan was dumbfounded. Just how many divine artifacts did this little bastard have on him? Damn it, give me back the jade pendant. The old woman suddenly roared. Staring at Qin Feiyang, who was lying in the deep pit below, she flew into a rage. Give it back to you? Qin Feiyang slowly got up. The burning purple gold dragon blood quickly healed his injuries, looked at the old woman and laughed. I expected that you wouldn't fight head-on with Chang Shui, so I've been waiting for an opportunity. Waiting for an opportunity? The 9 of them were startled. That's right. Although the jade pendant can't compare to Chang Shui, there aren't many divine artifacts in this world. Wouldn't it be a pity to destroy it? Qin Feiyang said. Bastard! I'm going to kill you. The old woman immediately went crazy. Her entire body was filled with hostility. Like a mad dog, she pounced towards Qin Feiyang. Second elder, come back quickly. Sherlan's face changed and she shouted. The old woman shuddered and looked at the Chang Shui tightly held in Qin Feiyang's hand, and cold sweat immediately ran down her back. How could she forget about the dagger? Since you're here, don't go back. Qin Feiyang grinned, and the Chang Shui suddenly flew out of his hand. Run! Sherlan shouted. Sherlan didn't need to remind her. Seeing Chang Shui coming, the old woman had already turned around and fled. But Chang Shui was even faster, as if it had teleported. Crack! All of a sudden, Chang Shui sank into the back of the old woman's head, and the old woman's head exploded on the spot like a watermelon. She didn't even have time to scream. The headless body fell powerlessly and fell down. Second elder! Sherlan and the others cried out in grief. The old woman, Pei Yunchang, and Wang Yuanshan were also shocked when they saw this scene. How could a fake god be killed so easily? One had to know. The old woman was the second elder of the main pagoda, and her cultivation had reached the 6th stage of the fake god realm. This dagger was too terrifying. In an instant, everyone was scared out of their wits. The disciples of the main pagoda were so scared that they pissed their pants. Some people collapsed on the ground, and didn't even have the strength to stand up. It was too cruel. It was so easy to kill a fake god, let alone them. With that dagger, who else could stop this devil? Qin Feiyang stepped into the sky step by step, his blood hair fluttering in the wind, like a demon god, making people tremble. Whoosh! Chang Shui returned to his hand. He looked at Sherlan and the others and said with a smile, I'll ask you again, are you ready to bear my anger? It was like a devil smiling. The whole place was dead silent. Everyone stared at him, their faces full of fear and panic. Come to my side. The old woman suddenly shouted. Sherlan and the others came back to their senses, and immediately turned around to rush to the old woman's side. Qin Feiyang turned to face the old woman and said with a cold smile, You like to torture people, don't you? Don't worry. Today I will let you have a good taste of being tortured. Sherlan suddenly became angry and shouted, My main pagoda can establish itself in the black tortoise world. Not by relying on words, now I will let you see the true strength of my main pagoda. Is that so? Qin Feiyang snickered. Sherlan and the others looked at the old woman in shock. The old woman said, There is no other way now, we can only use it. Sherlan asked, But it is our main treasure. What if it is destroyed by the dagger? If even it is destroyed by the dagger, then who can defeat Qin Feiyang here? I believe in it. Because it is a divine artifact given to me by the leader of the Vanga League. The old woman said. Sherlan didn't say anything else and shouted to the sky. All disciples, listen to my order, retreat as far as you can. When the surrounding disciples heard this, they immediately turned around and fled. Boom. At the same time, a terrifying aura rushed out from between the old woman's eyebrows. Qin Feiyang looked at the old woman's eyebrows and found that the fire lotus in between the old woman's eyebrows was rotating. Fiery light gushed out one after another. The world seemed to have turned into a big furnace in an instant. At the same time, there was also a shocking divine aura, like a volcanic eruption, rushing out in all directions. That divine aura came from the fire lotus. So it is a divine artifact, Qin Feiyang muttered. When he first saw the old woman, he noticed the fire lotus. At first, he thought it was just a mark, but he didn't expect it to be a divine artifact. And judging from the aura, the divine artifact's level was higher than the 7-star sword and the jade pendant. Whoosh! Suddenly, the fire lotus flew out from between the old woman's eyebrows and floated in the void in front of her. What are you waiting for? Hurry up! Don't you know that I can't revive it with my ability alone? The old woman shouted. Yes, yes, yes. Sherlan and the others hurriedly nodded. Their false god power poured out and surged into the fire lotus like a tidal wave. Although the second elder was dead, the old woman had stopped. Moreover, the old woman's strength was stronger than the second elder. The fire lotus quickly recovered, and an apocalyptic might surged out crazily. The surrounding void began to crack one after another. The mountains and the buildings below were collapsing. Cracks spread out on the ground. The sound of explosions was deafening. From afar, it looked like the end of the world. Not bad, not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded. The fire lotus was twice as powerful as the 7-star sword and the jade pendant. This divine artifact was what he wanted. Moreover, he had a feeling that this fire lotus divine artifact was compatible with his 9-leaf fire lotus battle soul. Swoosh! He made his move. With the phantom steps and the Chang Shui in his hand, he charged toward the 9 people. You're taking the initiative to attack? The old woman was in disbelief. How much confidence did this person have in the Chang Shui? Was the Chang Shui really invincible? I don't believe it. Die for this seat. The old woman shrieked. The fire lotus grew in the wind and became the size of a millstone. It released a destructive aura as it charged toward Qin Feiyang. Die. Qin Feiyang smiled mockingly. However, just as he was about to enter the ancient castle to avoid the attack, a loud clang rang in the air. The ancient castle shot out from between his brows on its own accord. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was stunned. If he used the Chang Shui to fight the fire lotus, he was confident that with the Chang Shui's power, it could easily destroy the fire lotus. However, he wanted the fire lotus. Hence, he could not allow it to be destroyed. Hence, he thought of entering the ancient castle to hide. However, he never expected that the ancient castle would also appear and even awaken on its own. These 2 divine objects could not be moved in the past. Now they actually awakened one after another? This was too abnormal. The ancient castle shone with a dark light, and its divine power shook the world. An invisible force, with the ancient castle as the center, rolled out in all directions. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He was too familiar with this force. It was the ancient castle's power of law. Time stop. In an instant, the old woman, Sherlan, and the others were all motionless. It was as if they were frozen, including the fire lotus. Moreover, under the pressure of the ancient castle, the awakening fire lotus gradually subsided. What's going on? High up in the sky, Pei Yinchang and Wang Yuanshan were suspicious. In the distance, the disciples of the main pagoda were also surprised. Why did the pagoda master and the elders not move? The power of law. Qin Feiyang murmured. Although this was not the first time he saw it, the power displayed by the ancient castle was truly shocking. You can be considered to have completely awakened. Your destiny is to fight against the heavens, the earth, and the rules of this world. Suddenly, an ethereal voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. In Chapter 1578. It's me. The ethereal voice rang out again. But Qin Feiyang didn't know who was talking. He didn't see the person who spoke either. Who the hell are you? Qin Feiyang shouted. Don't worry about who I am. You just need to know that you are destined to spend your life in torment. Work hard. I'm waiting for you to grow. After saying that, the voice faded away and never sounded again. Qin Feiyang was bewildered. How could someone say something like that to him? I'm waiting for you to grow? Who was waiting for him? What did it have to do with him? At this moment, The might of the fire lotus had been completely suppressed by the ancient castle. Qin Feiyang shook his head, suppressed the doubts in his heart, and slowly walked towards the fire lotus. What does he want to do? Pei Yunchang, Wang Yuanshan, and the disciples of the main pagoda in the distance looked at Qin Feiyang, who was walking towards the fire lotus step by step, their eyes filled with bewilderment. Because they were not within the range of the power of law, they were not frozen. Could it be he wanted to take away the fire lotus? Thinking of this, Pei Yunchang's gaze trembled as he roared. Pagoda master, what's wrong with you? Wake up, he wants to take away the fire lotus. However, the woman did not react at all. How could this be? Is everyone possessed? Pei Yunchang was extremely bewildered as he roared. Wang Yuanshan, I will drag the willow tree and Yu Huang. You quickly go and wake up the pagoda master. All right. Wang Yuanshan nodded and immediately swooped down. Can you hold it off by yourself? Willow Tree looked at Pei Yunchang coldly and shouted. Yu Huang, attack with all your might. All right. Yu Huang's eyes flashed with a fierce light. The power of a man and a beast frantically poured into the seven-star sword. The sharpness of the seven-star sword instantly suppressed the black dragon battle axe. With a clang, the black dragon battle axe was sent flying. Pei Yunchang's body trembled as a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Old thing, weren't you very arrogant in Peach Blossom City? You even crippled my sea of qi. Come, let's fight 300 rounds. Yu Huang laughed sinisterly. Willow Tree was also brimming with killing intent. The Big Dipper sword slashed toward Pei Yunchang with an earth-shattering sharpness. Although Pei Yunchang was a stage 7 false divinity, he was still a false divinity. How could he dare to fight against a divine artifact that was in the process of awakening? One had to know. The divine artifact was comparable to the war god level Sun Zai. You can't. I have to buy time for Wang Yuanshan. Pei Yunchang clenched his teeth, and the power of a fake god surged out, turning into a giant dragon. Divine art? Yu Huang was surprised. Willow Tree coldly snorted. As the vice tower master of the main tower, it's not strange for him to have a divine technique. That's true. Yu Huang nodded. The giant dragon roared in the sky and collided with the seven-star sword. The two of them instantly collided in the air, and destructive shockwaves rolled out in all directions. The void was crazily shattering. Even the sky was trembling. Whether it was the seven-star sword or the giant dragon, their speed was so fast that people couldn't catch them. Only deafening collisions could be heard. At the same time, Qin Feiyang had also walked in front of the fire lotus. Without saying anything, he directly stretched out his hand and grabbed the fire lotus. How dare you? Wang Yuanshan, who swooped down, immediately shouted angrily. Qin Feiyang ignored him and grabbed the fire lotus. Wang Yuanshan, you can't let him snatch the fire lotus. Pei Yunchang roared. Lord, don't worry, I will not let him succeed. Wang Yuanshan smiled. But the next moment, his whole body stopped in the void, motionless, and his face still maintained the previous smile, because he had entered the range of the power of law. Pei Yunchang's eyes widened. Why did even Wang Yuanshan become like this? What was going on? Good chance. Yu Huang's eyes lit up, and instantly changed the color of his skin, blending into the void and rushing towards Pei Yunchang. Not only his body, even his aura disappeared, as if he had evaporated into thin air. However, in the next moment, Pei Yunchang suddenly screamed in pain, and a thumb-sized bloody hole appeared between his eyebrows. The giant dragon that collided with the seven-star sword immediately dissipated. After that, Yu Huang also appeared. His whole body was dripping with blood, floating behind Pei Yunchang. Pei Yunchang glared at Yu Huang, then fell down powerlessly and his eyes dimmed. Because Yu Huang's attack not only pierced his sea of consciousness, but also shattered his soul. This emperor said, I will make you pay back double. Yu Huang smiled sinisterly. His sea of consciousness was broken, his soul was shattered, and even the gods couldn't save him. When Pei Yunchang landed, he fell to the ground and died. The black dragon axe also fell from the sky and hit the ground with a clang. Finally, we got rid of this big trouble. Willow Tree let out a long breath, grabbed the seven-star sword, and rushed towards Yu Huang asking, Is there anything wrong? No. Yu Huang shook his head. That's good. Willow Tree nodded, turned around and rushed towards the black dragon axe, his eyes full of excitement. Jade pendant, black dragon axe, fire lotus, 3 divine artifacts. This trip was worth it. Ming. Yu Huang quickly flew over, as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Willow Tree came back to his senses, quickly used the auxiliary divine art, rushed in front of the black dragon axe, and grabbed it. Yu Huang suddenly frowned and said angrily, "Human pet, what are you doing?" Willow Tree put the black dragon axe behind his back, looked at Yu Huang and said, "Just now, young master said that he wants this divine axe, so I have to give it to young master personally." Yu Huang raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Give it to me first, it's the same if I give it to him personally." "TCH. You can still take it out when it's in your hands." Willow Tree looked at him with disdain. "Bastard, don't forget your identity, you are now my human pet. I order you to hand over the black dragon axe immediately." Seeing that the soft approach didn't work, Yu Huang began to use the hard approach. "Humph." Willow Tree snorted, took the black dragon axe, and flew towards Qin Feiyang. "I'm so angry, so angry. If it weren't for Qin Feiyang, I would cripple you right now." Yu Huang roared. "Cripple me?" Willow Tree suddenly turned around and looked at Yu Huang, a cold light flashing in his eyes. "What do you want to do?" Yu Huang frowned. Willow Tree sneered. "Now that I have 2 artifacts in my hands, are you sure you can cripple me?" Yu Huang looked at the 7-star sword and the black dragon axe, and his pupils shrank slightly. "I must personally hand the black dragon axe to the young master. If you want it, go to him." Willow Tree sneered, then turned around and continued to fly towards Qin Feiyang. "Don't come over." But at this time, Qin Feiyang looked at Willow Tree and reached out to stop him. Willow Tree was surprised. Qin Feiyang said, "This power of law comes from the castle, I can't control it." "What? The power of law?" Willow Tree was shocked. "Country bumpkin, you have no knowledge. This is the power of law that the castle possesses. Time stop. When I killed the fire dragon and fought against the giant python, the castle displayed this power of law." Yu Huang snorted coldly. "Time stop. I didn't expect there to be such an ability in this world." Willow Tree muttered to himself. It was too incredible. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze, glanced at the fire lotus in his hand, then looked at the woman, Wang Yuanshan, Shirlan, and the others. Suddenly, killing intent flashed in his eyes. He grabbed Chang Shui and rushed towards the woman. But at this time, the castle turned into a black light and disappeared between his eyebrows. As soon as the castle disappeared, the power of law retreated like the tide. What's going on? What happened just now? The woman, Wang Yuanshan, Shirlan, and the others immediately regained their freedom, but they were all confused. Damn. This damn castle, is it deliberately playing with me? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He cursed angrily and hurriedly retreated. This damn castle is really unreliable. Can't you help me to the end? Seeing this, Willow Tree and Yu Huang also cursed and immediately began to work together to revive the 7-star sword. Wang Yuanshan was the first to come back to his senses. He immediately thought of what happened before and shouted, "Tower Master, quickly put away the fire lotus, Qin Feiyang." But before he finished speaking, Wang Yuanshan's face became dull, because he saw that the fire lotus was already in Qin Feiyang's hands. Fire lotus? The woman, Shirlan, and the others also came back to their senses. Seeing that the fire lotus had fallen into Qin Feiyang's hands, their faces suddenly changed. The woman was about to recall the fire lotus, because the blood contract was still there. But Qin Feiyang grinned and instantly sent the fire lotus to the castle. The woman also immediately lost contact with the blood contract. "Little bastard, I won't let you go." With a furious roar, she charged towards Qin Feiyang like a wild beast that had gone mad. But at this time, Wang Yuanshan's voice sounded again. "Tower Master, look, the Black Dragon Battle Axe." Black Dragon Battle Axe? The woman was stunned and hurriedly looked in the direction Wang Yuanshan was looking at. Shirlan and the others also looked over, and immediately turned pale with fright. How could the Black Dragon Battle Axe be in Willow Tree's hands? Wait. Where was Pei Yunchang? The Black Dragon Battle Axe was Pei Yunchang's divine object. And now that the Black Dragon Battle Axe had fallen into the hands of Willow Tree, wouldn't Pei Yunchang have already thinking of this? The group of people couldn't help but shudder. The Deputy Tower Master is there. A black-clothed old man abruptly pointed at the ground below and roared in anger. The group of people immediately looked down. When they saw Pei Yunchang lying quietly in a pool of blood, their faces suddenly crawled with deep disbelief. The woman shouted, "Go down and take a look." "No need. He's already dead." Qin Feiyang laughed. "What? Dead?" The woman's face turned pale. Wang Yuanshan and Shirlan were also dumbstruck. Boom. All of a sudden, the group of people raised their heads and stared at Qin Feiyang. Their aura suddenly erupted, and their eyes were blood-red. "I said, the Tower Master will disappear today. Pei Yunchang is the first." Qin Feiyang laughed. "You devil, I'm going to kill you." The woman roared, as if she had gone mad. "I'm a devil? Haha." Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "Didn't you feel good when you tortured Wang Yuer?" "Tortured Yuer?" Wang Yuanshan was stunned, looked at the woman and asked, "Lord, what does he mean?" The woman's face was gloomy. "You don't have the face to say it. Then I'll help you." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, looked at Wang Yuanshan and said, "Previously, in order to force me to hand over what she wanted, she used a method to control Wang Yu, making Wang Yu, stand in front of me and stab herself in the heart." What? Chapter 1579. Don't listen to his nonsense. He's trying to sow discord. The woman shouted. Qin Feiyang sneered. "Now that your divine artifacts are in my hands, is there a need for me to sow discord? If you want to condemn someone, you can always accuse them." The woman sneered. "Then let's let Wang Yuer talk about it herself." After Qin Feiyang said that, he sent a voice transmission. "Lu Hong, has Wang Yuer regained her consciousness?" Previously, when the Golden Divine Tower shattered, he sent Wang Yuer to the castle and asked Lu Hong to take good care of her. She has recovered. However, I really can't find out how the Pagoda Master controlled her. And Wang Yuer herself can't feel that she was controlled. I think it's better not to let her go out, lest she is controlled by the Pagoda Master again. Lu Hong said. "It's okay. The castle can cut off all connections. If the Pagoda Master wants to harm her, she just needs to send her into the castle in time." Qin Feiyang said secretly, and with a thought, Wang Yuer suddenly appeared out of thin air. The space above her had been repaired, but her body was still dripping with blood. Seeing the woman, her face was full of fear. Qin Feiyang grabbed her hand and said with a smile, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Wang Yuer nodded and felt much more at ease. Qin Feiyang said, "Tell your grandfather, is what I said just now true?" Wang Yuer looked at Wang Yuanshan and said, "Grandfather, what Qin Feiyang said is true. Although I don't remember what happened at that time, she controlled me." The woman snorted coldly. "What are you talking about when you don't even remember it?" "My lord," Wang Yuanshan roared. "What are you doing? You've got guts, haven't you? How dare you yell at me?" The woman glared at him. "I know you are ruthless, but I never expected that you would even do this to your own people. Yuer is my closest relative and also a member of the main tower. How can you treat her like this?" Wang Yuanshan roared, his old face full of disappointment. "Bastard! Who are you talking to?" The woman was furious. "Haha, I've always respected you, but your actions disappoint me." Wang Yuanshan shook his head, his eyes filled with self-mockery. After speaking, he looked at Wang Yuer and said, "Yuer, this matter has nothing to do with us anymore. How dare you?" The woman was furious. "Wang Yuanshan's to you. You are also a member of the main tower. Even if the Tower Master is in the wrong, you can't live on your own when our main tower is in a life-and-death situation." Shirlan and the others were also glaring at him, because I too. Wang Yuanshan said expressionlessly. He then turned to look at Wang Yuer and said with a smile, "Go with grandfather. Grandfather will no longer target Qin Feiyang. And I have realized my mistake. Now, I just want to live with you alone for a while and enjoy the happiness of family." When Qin Feiyang leaves the Black Tortoise world, I will let you leave with him. Wang Yuanshan smiled. Grandfather. Wang Yue murmured, tears flowing from the corner of her eyes. Then, she looked at Qin Feiyang with a questioning gaze. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he said with a smile, since your grandfather has repented, then let him live with you for a while. After all, it's not easy for him to have a relative like you. Can I? Wang Yue asked. Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded. Thank you for forgiving grandfather. Wang Yue smiled and was about to walk toward Wang Yuanshan. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang grabbed her. What's wrong? Wang Yue was puzzled. Wang Yuanshan was also puzzled. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuanshan and said with a smile, you are standing beside the pagoda master and the others. It's too dangerous for you to go there. Come to my side. Wang Yuanshan looked at the pagoda master and the others and nodded. That's true. With that, he flew toward Qin Feiyang. The woman said angrily, Wang Yuanshan, you traitor. Don't blame me. You were the one who attacked you first. Wang Yuanshan sneered without even turning his head. He walked in front of Qin Feiyang, cupped his hands and said, little friend, this old man's actions in the past were truly foolish. Please forgive me. It's okay. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Young friend, your magnanimity really makes me feel ashamed. Wang Yuanshan shook his head, turned to Wang Yue, and said with a smile, let's go. Wang Yue nodded. However, suddenly, Wang Yuanshan pounced toward Qin Feiyang. A black dagger had appeared in his sleeve unknowingly. It emitted a cold light like a venomous snake. Grandfather, what are you doing? Wang Yuanshan said in shock and anger. At such a close distance, given Wang Yuanshan's strength, Qin Feiyang could not react at all. However, Qin Feiyang reacted in the nick of time. He grabbed Chang Shui and possessed him, dodging Wang Yuanshan's fatal attack. Then he grabbed Wang Yue and disappeared without a trace. What? Wang Yuanshan was stunned. The woman, Sherlan, and the others were also dumbfounded. Surprised, right? Qin Feiyang's voice suddenly sounded. Wang Yuanshan and the others immediately looked in the direction of the voice and saw Qin Feiyang appearing in the void in front of the willow tree and Yu Huang. His eyes were full of mockery. Wang Yuanshan said, how did you react? Qin Feiyang said with a smile, because I already knew that you had ulterior motives. How is that possible? I didn't reveal any flaws at all. Wang Yuanshan said in disbelief. Qin Feiyang said, indeed, you didn't reveal any flaws, but the others did. The others? Wang Yuanshan was stunned and glanced at the woman, Sherlan, and the others. The woman and Sherlan looked at each other. Were there any flaws? Why didn't they notice? Qin Feiyang looked at the woman and said with a sneer, Wang Yuanshan contradicted you and betrayed the main pagoda. With your personality, I think you should have immediately killed him, but you didn't do so. Instead, you just watched him walk towards us. What does this mean? Also, Wang Yuanshan said that he would take Wang Yue away, but why did he keep standing by your side? What does this mean? Qin Feiyang added as he looked at the woman. His face was filled with ridicule. The woman's face darkened. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. It means that this is just a show between you and Wang Yuanshan to numb me and make me careless. Since you've already seen through it, why didn't you expose it in front of me? Why did you agree to let Yue go with me? Wang Yuanshan said in a deep voice. Because of Wang Yue. She believes you. If I expose you in front of her, you can quibble, but she won't believe that you are such a person. So, I have to use practical actions to let her see your true colors. In other words, whether you attacked me or you are just now, you can no longer quibble. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Hearing this, Wang Yuanshan, the woman, Sherlan, and the others couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. Who said that this kid was brainless? Even they had fallen into his trap. Among the younger generation of the Black Tortoise realm, who else could compare to him? Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Wang Yuanshan, you are really hopeless. Cut the crap. Who do you think you are? How dare you lecture me? Wang Yuanshan roared in exasperation. I'm indeed nothing, but I can at least not let down anyone who trusts me. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he took a step back and his eyes suddenly surged with killing intent as he shouted. Beat them all up, especially Wang Yuanshan. Understood. Willow Tree laughed and threw the Black Dragon battle axe to Qin Feiyang. Then, together with Yu Huang, he controlled the seven-star sword and slashed at the group of people. The seven-star sword had been awakened. Sherlan shouted. Pagoda Master, we don't have divine artifacts anymore. We are no match for them. Retreat. Don't panic. The woman shouted coldly and glanced at the seven-star sword. Then, she looked at Qin Feiyang and said, It's best to tell them to stop immediately because in this world, only I can remove the control on Wang Yuer. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? You're not the only one who has this kind of divine art. As long as you die, Wang Yuer will naturally be free. Qin Feiyang sneered. The woman didn't panic when she heard this. Instead, a mocking smile crept up on her face. You're right. For ordinary control-type deity arts, as long as the master dies, the imprint will disappear. However, the control-type deity art that I have mastered is not an ordinary deity art. This divine art is called the puppet art. Once I die, everyone under my control will also die. The woman laughed sinisterly. What? There's such a vicious divine art. Yu Huang and Willow Tree's expressions changed as they quickly stopped the seven-star sword. Ignore her and kill her, Qin Feiyang shouted. Okay. The man and the beast nodded. If Qin Feiyang wasn't afraid, what were they afraid of? The seven-star sword's edge was sharp as it slashed at the group of people. Wang Yuanshan, Sherlan and the others quickly took a step forward and used their divine arts in front of the woman. There were divine arts. There were battle souls. Their aura was like a rainbow that shook the sky. Boom. Clang. Divine arts and battle souls struck the seven-star sword one after another. In the end, the seven-star sword was forced back. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were also forced back. Young master, there are too many of them. And they all have divine arts. As for the seven-star sword, Yu Huang and I can't fully recover. I'm afraid it will be difficult to take them down. Willow Tree said. Use it. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and Chang Shui landed in front of Willow Tree. Willow Tree's eyes lit up as soon as he saw Chang Shui. Yu Huang's confidence also skyrocketed. However, the woman and Wang Yuanshan's expressions changed drastically. They had experienced Chang Shui's power before. Divine artifacts, divine arts, battle souls, and so on could not stop it at all. Let's go. The woman roared unwillingly and turned around to escape. One of the old men with white hair said, You're leaving just like that? Where are the disciples? Where there's life, there's hope. The woman said coldly. You don't even care about your disciples. How cruel. A sinister laugh filled with hostility suddenly rang out from the mountain ahead. Who is it? The woman shouted as she scanned the mountain ahead. Her eyes flashed coldly. Wang Yuanshan, Sherlan and the others were also vigilant. At the same time, Qin Feiyang's body trembled violently. It was Zhuge Mingyang's voice. Was it an illusion? Chapter 1580. A man in blood-red clothes walked out of the mountain step by step, then stepped into the void and stopped in front of the woman, Wang Yuanshan, and the others. His figure was tall and straight, and his grayish-white hair danced in the wind. His grayish-white eyes were filled with a touch of indifference like the Grim Reaper. Who else could it be but Zhuge Mingyang? Is this bastard really an unkillable cockroach? The river of bone erosion is incomparably dangerous. Even if a false god falls into the river, they will die without a doubt. But this person actually came back from the dead? Even the resurrection time is shorter than before. Willow Tree was shocked and angry to the extreme. Zhuge Mingyang scanned the crowd and finally locked onto Willow Tree with a hint of ridicule in his eyes. Willow Tree's pupils shrank. He found that he was actually a little afraid of Zhuge Mingyang's eyes. Zhuge Mingyang grinned and said, Actually, I didn't want to be resurrected so quickly, but there's no other way. There are too many people in Peach Blossom City, and there are even more fierce beasts in the Devil's Land. Their vitality is simply a big treasure. What? Willow Tree's eyes trembled, and he said in surprise, So the people of Peach Blossom City. That's right. Everyone has turned into mummies. If you can't bear to leave their corpses exposed in the wilderness, it's not too late to collect their corpses now. Zhuge Mingyang licked his lips. Terrifying, really terrifying. Willow Tree and Yu Huang couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Qin Feiyang also frowned. It wasn't because of Zhuge Mingyang's cruel methods, but because he couldn't see through Zhuge Mingyang's aura. Could it be that he had already broken through to the false god realm? What do you mean? Mummy, what are you talking about? The pagoda master and the others were surprised, but no one paid attention to them. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhuge Mingyang and said, "You came to the pagoda to continue opposing me, or, shoo." However, before Qin Feiyang could finish, Zhuge Mingyang stretched out his index finger and made a shushing gesture to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "We'll talk about our business later. Now I need to deal with a serious matter first." Zhuge Mingyang chuckled. He glanced at the head pagoda and the others and asked, "Are you really not going to care about those disciples?" The group was silent. "Since you don't care, then I won't be polite." Zhuge Mingyang stuck out his scarlet tongue and licked his lips. Then he glanced at the disciples of the main pagoda in the distance and said, "What a delicious meal! What is he trying to do? What a scary expression." The disciples immediately panicked. "It was your tower master who didn't care about you, so don't blame me." Zhuge Mingyang smiled cruelly. Boom. A terrifying divine might erupted. Following closely, a grayish-white pseudo-god power roared out from Zhuge Mingyang's body, turning into a huge wave that covered the sky and rushed in all directions. What? Divine might? Pseudo-god power? Willow Tree's eyes widened. Pseudo-god power? This bastard has actually stepped into the pseudo-god realm. Oh my god. He actually used this method to break through to the pseudo-god realm. Isn't it said that only by comprehending the profound meaning of becoming a god can one break through the shackles and step into the pseudo-god realm? Yu Huang was also shocked to the extreme. Qin Feiyang's heart was also surging with waves. Originally, he had thought about this problem, but he always felt that it was impossible. However, he didn't expect that Zhuge Mingyang actually did it. Death after death in exchange for evolution after evolution. And he even directly stepped into the pseudo-god realm. What kind of demonic art was this? It actually had such a heaven-defying ability? What's going on? My qi and blood are actually flowing away. Suddenly, Wang Yuanshan exclaimed. Qi and blood are flowing away? The woman, Sherlan, and the others were stunned and quickly checked their own situation. In the end, they were shocked to find that their qi and blood were also quietly flowing away. Willow Tree looked inwardly at the situation in his body, turned to look at Qin Feiyang, and said in a deep voice, "Young master, our qi and blood are also flowing away. What about you?" "Me too," Qin Feiyang said. His cultivation base was lower than Willow Tree and Yu Huang. Zhuge Mingyang was now a pseudo-god, and he could even rob a pseudo-god's qi and blood, let alone him, a warlord. Hearing this, Willow Tree immediately said, "Quickly go to the castle to hide." Qin Feiyang nodded, waved his hand, and disappeared without a trace with Willow Tree and Yu Huang. "Ah, Tower Master Elder, help! What the hell is going on, my qi and blood?" outside. Just as the Tower Master and the others were bewildered, a series of screams suddenly sounded in the void in the distance. The group of people shuddered and hurriedly looked up. They saw that the disciples were frantically fleeing, roaring, and their faces were filled with despair. But that grayish-white pseudo-god power was like gangrene attached to the bones. Once touched, they could not get rid of it. Their qi and blood were crazily being robbed. In a short while, everyone had become skin and bones, and their strength was also rapidly disappearing. Bang bang bang. In the end, they fell from the void one after another, holding their heads and rolling on the ground. Their expressions were filled with pain and helplessness. In the castle, everyone looked at this scene. Their eyes were filled with shock. Lu Zheng said, "This is a massacre. This Zhuge Mingyang is really getting more and more terrifying." Even with his frivolous personality, he could not help but feel a chill in his heart when he saw this scene. Willow Tree retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Young master, we have to think of a way to completely get rid of him, otherwise I'm afraid even we won't be his match. Even the river of bone erosion can't kill him. Tell me, how can I get rid of him?" Qin Feiyang asked. Willow Tree fell silent. Wait. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang was startled. What's wrong? Did you think of a way? Everyone looked at him in surprise. No. I'm thinking Zhuge Mingyang broke through to the pseudo-god realm. Why wasn't he sent to the second level by the rule force? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. With his demonic art, could it be that it can block the detection of the rule force? Fatso said. Lu Hong looked at Willow Tree and asked, Willow Tree, this black tortoise realm. I know what you're going to ask me, but it's impossible. Although I broke through to the pseudo-god realm, I wasn't sent to the second level, but that's because I have the devil mark. In other words, in the black tortoise realm, without the devil mark, no matter who it is, once they break through to the pseudo-god realm, they will be sent away by the rule force. Unless, Willow Tree said. Unless what? Everyone was surprised. Willow Tree said, unless there's a guardian of the miracle to help. Guardian? Everyone was slightly stunned. Fatty abruptly looked at Qin Feiyang and asked in bewilderment, Boss, it can't be that the giant python is causing trouble, right? Don't say it's really possible. Little Qin Zi killed the fire dragon and seriously injured the giant python. The giant python will definitely hold a grudge and think of ways to take revenge on little Qin Zi. This Zhuge Mingyang might be one of the ways it takes revenge on little Qin Zi. White-Eyed Wolf said. If that's the case, then we're in big trouble. Yeah. Without the Qi and Blood Pearl, we won't be able to defeat him at all. Everyone also began to talk about it worriedly. Qin Feiyang didn't say a word. He looked at Zhuge Mingyang in the image, his eyes flickering. Outside, screams continued. One by one they fell. Without exception, all of them turned into dried corpses. Their eyes were wide open, filled with fear before death. It looked like hell. It was spine-chilling. And all of the Qi and Blood Pearl was absorbed by Zhuge Mingyang. His aura became more and more terrifying. Damn it. Absorbing the Qi and Blood Pearl of others to refine one's own cultivation. How can there be such a vicious cultivation method in the world? The Tower Master and the others stared at Zhuge Mingyang in panic. It feels so good. Zhuge Mingyang closed his eyes and revealed an intoxicated expression. After absorbing all the Qi and Blood Pearl, he suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the Tower Master and the others. Who are you? How can you be so heartless? Aren't you afraid of angering the heavens? Shirlan shouted. She also admitted that she was ruthless, but compared to this person, she paled in comparison. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zhuge Mingyang, the son of the Great Qin Empire's Marquis Wu. Zhuge Mingyang retracted his false god power and looked at the group of people with a smile. Why? You're from the Great Qin Empire. Then you and Qin Feiyang. The group of people's expressions changed. Qin Feiyang and I. Zhuge Mingyang chuckled and said, Of course we're old friends. However, our relationship is a little complicated. He wants to kill me, and I want to kill him. Aren't they archenemies? Since they're archenemies, why are you helping him? The woman shouted. Helping him? Don't misunderstand. I'm not helping him. I'm helping myself. Because your Qi and Blood Pearl can make me stronger. Of course. No matter how deep the hatred between us is, we're still people of the Great Qin Empire. So when facing your main pagoda or the Heavenly Sun Empire, I will put aside my personal grudges and work with him against the outside world. Zhuge Mingyang grinned and said. His gray eyes emitted the aura of death, making him look like a god of death. When the pagoda master and the others heard this, they immediately panicked. What a joke! But at this time, Qin Feiyang appeared with Willow Tree and Yu Huang. He looked at Zhuge Mingyang and sneered. If you really have this awareness, then you wouldn't have saved Mu Tianyang. Don't act here, no one will applaud you. Zhuge Mingyang was not angry and smiled. That's because the situation is different. At that time, I hadn't risen yet, so I naturally had to use Mu Tianyang to restrain you. Qin Feiyang said. So now you think you've risen? Zhuge Mingyang joked. My cultivation is right here. Whether I've risen or not. Don't you know in your heart? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. His gaze turned and landed on the pagoda master's group. He shouted. Willow Tree, kill them first. Okay. Willow Tree nodded and led Chang Shui to kill the pagoda master's group. Yu Huang took the divine artifact snake scale and turned into a stream of light, floating in front of Zhuge Mingyang and confronting Zhuge Mingyang. Zhuge Mingyang glanced at Yu Huang, his eyes full of disdain. Then. Chapter 1581. Willow Tree, don't you dare! Looking at the murderous Lu Mu, the pagoda master and the others were terrified, and their faces turned pale. They weren't afraid of Willow Tree, but Chang Shui and Willow Tree's hands. Don't you think it's too childish to say that now? Willow Tree sneered. Don't forget that we have the Vanga League behind us. The woman shouted. Vanga League. Willow Tree said with disdain. Don't always use the Vanga League to pressure me. I'm afraid that even if the Vanga League comes, they can only stand aside and watch me kill you. Tower Master, I'll hold him back. You guys go. A white-haired elder shouted. His divine might erupted, and he charged towards Lu Mu without even turning his head. Go. The woman shouted and opened a portal. Who said you can go? But then, Yu Huang and Zhuge Mingyang rushed toward the portal at almost the same time. Yu Huang raised his eyebrows and looked at Zhuge Mingyang. Was this guy really going to help them? I said that from now on, Qin Feiyang and I will stand together against the people of the Tianyang Empire. Zhuge Mingyang laughed. I'll be a fool if I believe you. Yu Huang snorted and threw out the snake scale at the woman and the others. Zhuge Mingyang waved his hand and gray false god power appeared and covered the sky. His goal was the teleportation gate. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered as he looked at the grayish-white false god energy. The false god power was the same as the battle chi in the past. It was naturally stronger than the false god power of others. In other words, Zhuge Mingyang had the advantage in terms of false god power. The woman shouted, Wang Yuanshan, Sherlan, go and hold them back. The two hesitated. What is it? You dare to disobey my orders? The woman was instantly enraged. The two people's faces changed and they hurriedly said, We dare not. Then hurry up and go. The woman shouted. The two of them exchanged glances. Then they gritted their teeth and unleashed their divine might. Wang Yuanshan faced Yu Huang's snake scales. Sherlan faced Zhuge Mingyang's false god power. Something strange. Qin Feiyang mumbled. Wang Yuanshan and Sherlan's behavior was too abnormal. Even though he knew that he was going to die, he still braced himself and charged forward. Either there was something wrong with their heads, or they had no other choice. Whoosh. Following closely, he glanced at the teleportation gate in front of the woman, and a hint of mockery flashed in his eyes before he disappeared in an instant. Rumble. Meanwhile, Wang Yuanshan and Sherlan's spirit manifestation art collided with the snake scale and Zhuge Mingyang's false god power. Puff. Zhuge Mingyang spat out a mouthful of blood. After all, he didn't evolve a spirit manifestation art. He only had false god power. Although his false god power was stronger than other people's false god power, it wasn't as strong as a spirit manifestation art. Sherlan's spirit manifestation art was enough to completely crush it. However, Wang Yuanshan didn't gain any advantage under Yu Huang's snake scales. The snake scales revived, and the sharpness destroyed the world. Although Wang Yuanshan used a spirit manifestation art to repel the snake scales, he also paid a price. His body was severely injured, leaving serious internal injuries. At the same time, the white-haired old man also fought with Willow Tree. The white-haired old man's strength was even stronger than Willow Tree's. He had reached the 5th stage of the false god realm, and also mastered a spirit manifestation art. He thought that with his deity incantation and his advantage in cultivation, he would at least be able to delay Tsang Shui for a while, even if he could not fight him head-on. However, the cruel reality mercilessly threw him into a bottomless abyss. The so-called spirit manifestation art and the so-called advantage in cultivation were simply a joke in front of Chang Shui. Clang. The sharpness tore through the sky and turned everything into ashes. Die. Willow Tree roared, grabbed Chang Shui, and stabbed the white-haired old man's head. His knowledge, sea and soul were instantly shattered. Blood spurted out. He died just like that. The pagoda master and the others who were about to enter the portal were shocked. Wang Yuanshan and Sherlan were also scared out of their wits. With this dagger, who in the Black Tortoise realm could compete with Qin Feiyang? Yu Huang glanced at Willow Tree, then glanced at Zhuge Mingyang and said, Do you see? I've already killed one of my human pets, but you're injured. Don't you find it embarrassing? Embarrassing? Zhuge Mingyang smiled proudly, and a bone dragon appeared out of nowhere. The deafening dragon roar shook the sky and shattered the mountains and rivers. It was the Azure Dragon art. No, it was more appropriate to call it the Bone Dragon art. Because the bone dragon didn't have any flesh and blood, only a skeleton. But the skeleton seemed to be cast from divine iron, and had a hard texture. Divine art. Wang Yuanshan's body trembled, and he quickly used a divine art to counterattack. An ant dares to be so arrogant in front of me. Zhuge Mingyang's face was full of contempt. The bone dragon roared in the sky, and with a loud bang, Wang Yuanshan's divine art was turned into ashes. This was Zhuge Mingyang's advantage. The power of a false god was naturally stronger than others, and the divine art he created was naturally stronger. It was completely unstoppable. Wang Yuanshan couldn't resist at all. And this strike also scared Wang Yuanshan out of his wits. Zhuge Mingyang's divine art was above his. How could he fight? He turned around and ran toward the woman. The woman and her group had also entered the portal. Seeing Wang Yuanshan running over, she didn't stop him, because she felt that they could successfully escape now. At the same time, Sherlan didn't continue to fight. The Fire Lotus, the Jade Pendant, and the Black Dragon Battle Axe all fell into Qin Feiyang's hands. Facing Chang Shui and Qin Feiyang's group, they had no chance of winning. Not to mention, now there was Zhuge Mingyang, who was as terrifying as Qin Feiyang. Therefore, she knew that if she continued to fight, only death would await her. But, just as Wang Yuanshan and Sherlan were about to enter the portal, they suddenly seemed to notice something, and their faces were full of panic. They looked behind the portal. A figure appeared out of thin air. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang? You want to leave? Do you think that's possible? Qin Feiyang smiled contemptuously and waved his hand, and a red sword aura surged and blasted toward the portal. With a loud bang, the portal instantly shattered. The Tower Master and the others who were standing inside all fell out in a sorry state. Damn it! They were a little confused at first, but then they all roared and stared at Qin Feiyang, their eyes full of resentment and hatred. I said, the Tower Master will disappear from the Black Tortoise world today, so none of you can escape. Qin Feiyang laughed sinisterly. You've already gotten 3 divine artifacts from us, what more do you want? I advise you, don't push your luck. The woman roared. What? 3 divine artifacts? Zhuge Mingyang was surprised. Haven't you been spying on us all this time? How could you not know? Yu Huang sneered. Who said I've been spying on you all this time? I've only been here for a while, okay? Zhuge Mingyang said angrily. Yu Huang said, that's a pity, I miss so many exciting shows. Zhuge Mingyang coldly glanced at Yu Huang, then looked up at Qin Feiyang, cursing in his heart. He actually got 3 divine artifacts, this damn bastard, he's really lucky. Push my luck. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, when I was captured by you, why didn't you restrain yourself a little? Now you're telling me not to push my luck? Are you kidding me? You've gone too far. The woman was flustered and exasperated. Who's the one who's gone too far? Who's the one who caused this situation? It's you, do you understand? You're the one who created this disaster, so you have to bear the consequences, so don't blame me for being ruthless. Qin Feiyang sneered. Kill him. The woman roared hysterically. If you're a man, don't hide, fight us fair and square. Wang Yuanshan and the others immediately rushed toward Qin Feiyang, provoking him at the same time. Willow Tree had Chang Shui. They couldn't beat him. They couldn't do anything to Zhuge Mingyang and Yu Huang. They could only attack Qin Feiyang. Only by capturing Qin Feiyang would they be able to end this battle. However, would Qin Feiyang give them a chance? No. Would he be provoked by them? Definitely not. He was not a 3-year-old child. How could he do such a stupid thing as being impulsive? Whoosh. Decisive. He entered the ancient castle. You're a useless dog who only knows how to hide, bastard. What did your parents teach you? You're so spineless. Are your parents the same kind of people? Wang Yuanshan and the others instantly flew into a rage, cursing and swearing. No matter how unbearable the words were, they all jumped out of their mouths. At this moment, They didn't have the demeanor and manners of a false god at all. They were like a group of mad dogs. The woman was also fuming with anger. She was extremely annoyed. Curse all you want. Anyway, there's not much time left. Qin Feiyang sneered. He looked through the screen at the willow tree. At this moment, Willow Tree restrained its aura and was approaching the woman silently. Yu Huang and Zhuge Mingyang also noticed Willow Tree, but they didn't say anything. The woman, who was extremely angry and shrouded in despair, didn't notice it either. Wang Yuanshan and the others, because they went to kill Qin Feiyang earlier, were standing in front of the woman at this moment. As such, the woman's back was facing Willow Tree. In the blink of an eye, Willow Tree was like a poisonous snake hiding its fangs, quickly darting behind the woman. No matter what, the woman was a false god. Although she didn't see Willow Tree, as soon as Willow Tree approached, she felt a strong sense of danger. She suddenly came back to her senses, and cold sweat broke out all over her body. Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and Zhuge Mingyang were still there. How could she be distracted? She turned her head abruptly and saw Willow Tree smiling at her. Chang Shui went straight behind her. Tower Master. Wang Yuanshan and the others were also shocked. They quickly turned their heads and suddenly roared. It was a critical moment. The woman swooped down and rushed toward Wang Yuanshan and the others. Because it was too close and too fast. She didn't have time to perform any battle arts to counterattack. She didn't dare to fight Chang Shui with her bare hands. So she could only rush forward. But at the same time, Willow Tree smiled coldly and suddenly exerted force in his arm. With a puff, Chang Shui went straight into the woman's back. Her heart was suddenly broken. Ah! The woman couldn't help but scream in pain. The wound was bleeding. Willow Tree, I won't let you go. The woman roared and hit Willow Tree's chest with her palm. The power of a false god gushed out. But this Willow Tree didn't panic at all. With a sneer on his face, he instantly pulled out Chang Shui and chopped at the woman's wrist. Ah! The woman screamed again. Her wrist was broken on the spot, and blood poured out like a waterfall. Then, Willow Tree grabbed the woman's hair and pulled hard. The woman immediately retreated back to Willow Tree uncontrollably. How dare you insult the young master? How dare you? Before the woman could react, Willow Tree laughed coldly in her ear and stabbed the woman's lower abdomen. Her sea of energy shattered. Chapter 1582. Tower Master. Seeing this scene, Wang Yuanshan and the others suddenly fell into a panic and rushed towards Willow Tree desperately. So desperate. Willow Tree was surprised. He raised the Chang Shui in his hand and placed it on the top of the woman's head. He looked at Wang Yuanshan and the others and said, "Stand there and don't move." Swish. Wang Yuanshan and the others stopped in unison, their faces full of anxiety. At this time, Qin Feiyang appeared beside Willow Tree out of thin air and glanced at Wang Yuanshan and the others frowning. "What's wrong?" Willow Tree secretly said. "It's strange. Logically speaking, when the Tower Master is captured, they should immediately find a chance to escape. But why are they not escaping now and want to rescue the Tower Master?" Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. "It's a bit strange. I know these people too well, they are definitely not loyal people." Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang looked at the woman, then at Wang Yuanshan and the others, shook his head and said with a smile, "I think I understand." "Understand what?" Willow Tree was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said. Wang Yuanshan and the others were also controlled by this woman with the puppet technique. "What?" Willow Tree was stunned and hurriedly said, Wait. Why have I never heard of this before? If such a thing really happened, it's impossible that there was no news at all." Qin Feiyang pointed at the woman and said, "Let her answer you." "Is it true?" Willow Tree looked at the woman and asked. "Yes. They are all controlled by me." The woman smiled sinisterly. "Damn, you won't even let your own people go. You bitch's viciousness is really beyond imagination." Willow Tree was dumbfounded. In this world, are there still people worthy of trust? Only by holding their lives in my hands will they be willing to serve me wholeheartedly. The woman said. "The most vicious is a woman's heart, it's true." Willow Tree said in disdain. The woman smiled disapprovingly. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He looked at the woman and said, Wang Yuanshan and the others care so much about your life. Is what you said true? Of course it's true. Once I die, everyone under my control will die as well. Including Wang Yu, the woman said. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists, his eyes full of hostility. The woman sneered. Do you still dare to kill me now? Qin Feiyang's eyes were gloomy. After a while, he took a deep breath and said to himself, Willow Tree, will her consciousness pose a threat to us? A false divinity had already condensed a divine sense. As for divine sense, it could also kill people. Like Mu Tianyang. Therefore, even if the woman's sea of qi was destroyed and her cultivation was lost, she was still a threat to everyone. Of course, this was only his understanding. He needed Willow Tree to tell him if there was a threat or not. Don't worry about this. A false divinity is not that powerful. Although a false divinity has condensed a divine sense, it can only release divine sense. It can't leave the body. In short, a false divinity can't leave the sea of qi. Only a true god of war can use his divine sense to fight. Willow Tree thought to himself. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and said, in other words, this woman isn't a threat to us at all. That's right. Willow Tree nodded and then added, now you can torture her however you want. That's good. Qin Feiyang grabbed the woman and glanced at Wang Yuanshan and the others, saying, continue, cripple them all. Understood. Willow Tree laughed. Hearing this, Wang Yuanshan and the others suddenly changed. Let's go. Yu Air is being controlled by the pagoda master. Qin Feiyang doesn't dare to kill the pagoda master now. Let's escape to the Vanga League and slowly think of a way. Wang Yuanshan thought to himself. That makes sense. However, if we escape together, we won't be able to escape. We have to split up and break out. Leave as many as you can. Sherlan said. Let's go. Wang Yuanshan shouted. The group of people immediately dispersed in an uproar. Humph. Willow Tree snorted and chased after Wang Yuanshan. Yu Huang also acted, wanting to kill Sherlan. Why do you have to go through so much trouble? Zhuge Mingyang sneered. His fighting soul roared and activated his divine ability. An invisible force covered the sky and pounced in all directions. Wang Yuanshan and the others' cultivation suddenly began to plummet. Peak 9-star Combat Emperor Realm. 9-star Combat Emperor Realm. 8-star Combat Emperor Realm. 7-star Combat Emperor Realm. The group suddenly fell into panic. What was going on? The woman who was captured by Qin Feiyang was also shocked. What? It actually dropped by 4 small realms in a row. At the same time, Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree and Yu Huang were also trembling in fear. They remembered that when they were in the river of erosion, Zhuge Mingyang's divine ability could only deprive 3 small realms. And now, after his rebirth, not only did his cultivation break through to the false god realm, even his fighting soul's divine ability had evolved once again. His strength had soared too quickly, depriving 4 small realms of cultivation. This was not just a little bit scary. What are you waiting for? My divine ability can only deprive them of their cultivation. It can't restrict their freedom. If you don't hurry up, they will all escape. Looking at Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree and Yu Huang's expressions, Zhuge Mingyang was very satisfied. Willow Tree and Yu Huang regained their senses and immediately led Chang Shui and Shilin to attack Wang Yuanshan and Sherlan. No, Wang Yuanshan and Sherlan shouted. How could a 7-star combat emperor outrun a false god? They had never been as desperate as they were at this moment. However, Willow Tree and Yu Huang turned a deaf ear to them. They went forward and directly destroyed their sea of qi before immediately running toward the other elders. In less than 5 breaths, 5 elders were crippled one after another. There was only one person left who was still running away. How could this be? Is the entire army wiped out just like that? The woman looked at all this and shook her head frantically. No. It's not over yet. I order you to self-destruct immediately and perish together with them. The woman suddenly raised her head and looked at the elder who was still running away and roared. What? Self-destruct? Willow Tree and Yu Huang's expressions changed. Zhuge Mingyang's pupils also shrank. Wang Yuanshan and Sherlan, who had their cultivation destroyed, were also shocked. One had to know. They were now equivalent to cripples. If they really self-destructed, there was no way for them to escape. However, that elder did not self-destruct. His face was full of struggle. "Quick!" the woman roared. "Don't self-destruct." Wang Yuanshan and the others also roared. "Bastard!" The woman was furious. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and slapped the woman's face. A bloody palm print appeared. "Come on. If you have the ability, then kill me," the woman roared, her face full of provocation. Qin Feiyang grabbed the woman's neck and laughed sinisterly. "Don't worry, you will definitely die, and now you better shut up." "Haha. You are really stupid. For a woman, is it worth it to leave me a mortal enemy? Brat, don't be so kind. Sooner or later, you will be killed by yourself." The woman laughed. Qin Feiyang's 5 fingers tightened, and the woman's laughter came to an abrupt end, but her eyes were full of sarcasm. Willow Tree looked back at Qin Feiyang and shouted, "Young master, what should we do? Do we still chase?" He actually didn't dare to chase, because he was really afraid that the man would self-destruct. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and said, "He hasn't self-destructed yet, which means he is also afraid of death. You pretend to chase after him now, but don't force him too much. Yu Huang, you secretly sneak over and find an opportunity to cripple him. Wait. What if the pagoda master suddenly uses the puppet technique? You have seen the power of the puppet technique. Once controlled, he will immediately lose consciousness. If the pagoda master wants him to self-destruct, he will self-destruct." Willow Tree thought. Qin Feiyang glanced at the woman and said, "She shouldn't be able to use the puppet technique now." "What do you mean?" Willow Tree was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, "I think this puppet technique should be the same as battle arts and divine arts. It needs battle chi and false god force." "Why do you say so?" Willow Tree said. "Think about it. If she doesn't need battle chi and false god force, then she has a lot of opportunities to make Wang Yuanshan and the others self-destruct." But Wang Yuanshan and the others didn't self-destruct, and no one lost consciousness. Doesn't this mean that the puppet technique does need false god force? Qin Feiyang said. "Makes sense." Willow Tree nodded thoughtfully. "Don't dawdle, he will slip away if you dawdle. Trust Qin Feiyang's judgment," Baiming Yuhuang silently urged. After that, she kept the snake's scale and instantly merged into the void. That man panicked and didn't notice at all. Seeing this, Willow Tree gritted his teeth and turned to chase after that man. In his opinion, even if the woman couldn't use the puppet technique now, Qin Feiyang's actions were too risky. This was simply a gamble. Gambling on whether that man dared to self-destruct. As Willow Tree's aura continued to approach, that man suddenly turned his head and stared at Willow Tree, shouting, "Don't come over, or I will really self-destruct." A wise man submits to circumstances. You can totally rely on the young master like me. You don't have to risk your life. Willow Tree comforted, creating an opportunity for Yu Huang. Rely on Qin Feiyang? That man was stunned, stopped, and looked at Qin Feiyang from afar. There seemed to be a trace of temptation in his flustered expression. "I can tell you responsibly that the young master is really a good person. He even gave me the 7-star sword. Where are you going to find such a generous person? So listen to me, don't do stupid things and harm others without benefiting yourself," Willow Tree said as he took out the 7-star sword and sighed. "I've been in the Nether Pavilion for so many years, working hard without complaint, but I didn't get a divine artifact. But now, I have a divine artifact after following the young master for so long. Thinking about it, I feel that the sacrifices I made for the Nether Pavilion all these years were not worth it." That man looked at the 7-star sword with a burning gaze. Willow Tree waved the 7-star sword and looked at that man with a smile. "You have to think carefully, there won't be another chance if you miss this village." Every word that Lu Mu said was attacking the defensive line in his heart. In the end, that man lowered his head and pondered in silence, as if he was making a final struggle. Suddenly, Yu Huang appeared in front of him. His body was only half a meter long, and his long and narrow eyes flickered with a shocking ferocious light. "Damn it, Willow Tree, you lied to me." As soon as that man saw Yu Huang appear, He knew that it was a trick. After a furious roar, a destructive aura rushed out of his body. Yu Huang, quick. Willow Tree's expression changed as he roared. Yu Huang cackled, and the snake scales appeared and instantly pierced through that man's lower abdomen. As soon as the Qi Si was destroyed, the destructive aura immediately disappeared. Willow Tree wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead and collapsed weakly. Chapter 1583. Qin Feiyang also let out a long sigh of relief. If that person really blew himself up, and something happened to Willow Tree and Yu Huang, he would probably have to live in guilt for the rest of his life. After all, Willow Tree and Yu Huang trusted him, so they went to intercept him regardless of the consequences. Fortunately, these things did not happen. He took a step forward and landed in front of Wang Yuanshan with the woman. Then he looked at Willow Tree and Yu Huang and said, "Bring them all here." "Okay." One man and one beast replied. Wang Yuanshan hurriedly said, "Feiyang, this is a misunderstanding. Let me explain." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and threw the woman to the ground. He looked at Wang Yuanshan and said, "You want to say that everything you did was involuntary?" "Yes, it was involuntary. The Tower Master used the puppet technique to control me. I can't disobey her orders," Wang Yuanshan said. The woman stared at Wang Yuanshan and said, "Do you want to die?" Wang Yuanshan roared, "Don't threaten me anymore. I won't be used by you again." "Continue acting," Qin Feiyang sneered. "I didn't act. You have to believe me. If it weren't for the puppet technique, I would have turned against her when I learned that you, was abused by her," Wang Yuanshan said anxiously. "It sounds like there's nothing wrong with it. But do you think I will believe you again? Even if I believe that you had no choice, how do you explain what you said to me when we were in Peach Blossom City? Don't tell me that you were also forced. I don't remember that the Tower Master was also there." Qin Feiyang sneered. Wang Yuanshan was in despair. At this time, Willow Tree and Yu Huang brought Shirlan and the others to Qin Feiyang. Willow Tree said, "Except for the dead Pei Yunchang and the second elder, and the white-haired old man I killed, everyone is here." Qin Feiyang glanced at them one by one, his eyes flashing coldly. As for Shirlan and the others, at this moment, they were all lying on the ground in a sorry state. None of them dared to look Qin Feiyang in the eye. Their faces were filled with fear. Whoosh! Suddenly, Zhuge Mingyang descended from the sky and landed at the side. Willow Tree and Yu Huang immediately stood in front of Qin Feiyang and stared at Zhuge Mingyang vigilantly. Zhuge Mingyang smiled. "Don't forget that I helped you guys just now. One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions." Willow Tree sneered. Zhuge Mingyang felt wronged and said, "If you say that, I'll be sad. In any case, I've helped you a lot. Don't you know how to thank me?" "I thank you on behalf of the young master. If there's nothing else, you can leave now," Willow Tree said. "How cold." Zhuge Mingyang shook his head and took a few steps back. "I'll just watch. I won't disturb you guys." Willow Tree raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Qin Feiyang with a questioning gaze. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhuge Mingyang and said, "It's not good to stay here for long. Let's go first." Yu Huang was puzzled. "Everyone in the main pagoda is dead. What are you afraid of?" Although the main pagoda is no longer a concern, don't forget that there's still the Heavenly Sun Empire and the Nether Hall. When they receive the news, they will definitely come to check the situation. Although we have Chang Shui and the 3 divine artifacts of the main pagoda, after the previous battle, you and Willow Tree shouldn't have much pseudo-divine power left. So we have to retreat first. Qin Feiyang thought. "Makes sense. I'll take you to a place." Willow Tree opened a portal. Zhuge Mingyang was stunned and asked curiously, "Where are you going?" "It's none of your business," Qin Feiyang said lightly, then looked at Yu Huang and said, "Let's wait for Wang Yuanshan and the others to leave first." "Okay." Yu Huang nodded, rolled up a group of people, and rushed into the portal without looking back. "I didn't expect you to be so cold." Sigh. "It's really disappointing." Zhuge Mingyang shook his head and sighed. Qin Feiyang said lightly, "Even without your help, I'm confident that I can make them all stay." "So I'm just imagining things?" Zhuge Mingyang was angry. You can think of it that way, Qin Feiyang said. Okay. I'm not tactful. But I have a small request. Can you fulfill it? Zhuge Mingyang said. What request? Qin Feiyang frowned. Grant me death. Zhuge Mingyang grinned. Qin Feiyang was immediately enraged. Really? I really want to die. Just be kind and grant me my wish, Zhuge Mingyang said. At this moment, there was no hypocrisy at all. It was very sincere. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands and said angrily, You've already broken through to the pseudo-god realm. Is there any point in doing this? Of course there is. Because I haven't broken through to the war god realm. How about this, you name your request. As long as you grant me death, I'll satisfy you. Zhuge Mingyang smiled. Qin Feiyang's face was extremely ugly. Although Zhuge Mingyang didn't mean to laugh at him, he felt very sullen. This was because Zhuge Mingyang's current strength was all because of him. Divine artifact? Divine art. Just name it. As long as I have it, I'll give it to you. Really? I've never been as serious as I am now, Zhuge Mingyang said again. Qin Feiyang said. Okay, give me your demonic arts. I'll grant you your wish. Zhuge Mingyang sighed. Brother, you're the one who's being unreasonable. You don't dare? Qin Feiyang sneered. Zhuge Mingyang shook his head and said, You're forcing me. Then don't look for me. Qin Feiyang sneered, then turned around and entered the portal with Willow Tree. When the portal disappeared, Zhuge Mingyang's face suddenly became gloomy, and he laughed sinisterly. Forcing me, is it? All right, just you wait, I'll let you do it. Finished. Zhuge Mingyang turned around and disappeared into the vast mountains. At the same time, in a certain mountain stream, there was a wide river. The river was clear and winding, and the vegetation on both sides was lush. Several beasts were foraging on the shore. Not far away, there was a small courtyard, covering an area of about 100 feet, surrounded by a row of wooden fences. In the courtyard, there was a peach tree more than 10 meters tall, with luxuriant branches and leaves. Next to it, there was a small 2-story wooden building. The wooden building was very old, but very clean and tidy. However, whether it was the gate of the courtyard or the wooden building, they were all closed. No one could be seen. Suddenly, a group of people appeared out of thin air above the courtyard. It was Qin Feiyang and his group. Where is this? Yu Huang looked at the courtyard and glanced around suspiciously. This is the Qingyang Mountains. This courtyard is my temporary residence. Sometimes when I'm upset, I'll come here to stay for a while. And within a radius of 1,000 miles, the people who live here are basically ordinary people and ordinary beasts. So don't worry, someone will disturb us. Willow Tree laughed. Not bad. You really know how to enjoy it. Yu Huang laughed. Qin Feiyang looked at the courtyard and asked, Other than you, is there anyone else living here? No. Willow Tree shook his head and asked suspiciously, Why do you ask? Then why is the courtyard so clean? Qin Feiyang frowned. Willow Tree suddenly smiled and waved his hand, and a divine barrier immediately appeared around the courtyard. So there's a barrier, Qin Feiyang muttered. Although there are no beasts in the Qingyang Mountains, there are many wild beasts. These wild beasts without spiritual intelligence, if they find that there is no one here, they will definitely come in and cause trouble. So I set up a barrier, Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang nodded, looked around and said, Are you sure that the people living here are ordinary people and wild beasts? I'm sure. After all, no matter where it is, there is a world that belongs to mortals. And this area in the Black Tortoise realm is the world of mortals, Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang said, All right then, let's go in. Willow Tree waved his hand, and the barrier suddenly collapsed. A group of people landed in the courtyard. Wait, did we miss something? Yu Huang suddenly said. Qin Feiyang said, You're talking about the main tower's treasure vault and herb field, right? Yes. Yu Huang nodded and immediately looked at the woman saying, Tell me, where is your herb field and treasure vault? I don't know. The woman sneered. You're courting death. Yu Huang was furious, raising his snake tail like a long whip, and fiercely slapped the woman's face. Pa. Half of the woman's face was suddenly cut open, and blood splattered. She roared. You damn beast, I will kill you sooner or later. You still dare to be arrogant? I remember when you controlled Wang Yuer, it was very satisfying. Now I'll let you have a taste of being stabbed. Willow Tree was full of hostility, holding the Chang Shui, and stabbed the woman's heart again and again. You bastard, you will die a horrible death. The woman screamed. Your mouth stinks. Willow Tree raised his hand and slapped the woman on the other side of her face. This side of her face was also cut open on the spot, and blood splattered everywhere. Bastard, kill me. The woman was ashamed and angry. Kill you? Dream on. If I kill you now, how can we vent our anger? Willow Tree sneered. Qin Feiyang glanced at the woman and looked at Wang Yuanshan, saying, Don't say I didn't give you a chance. Quickly tell me the location of the treasure vault and herb field. Wang Yuanshan glanced at the woman. You dare? The woman glared at him. Wang Yuanshan suddenly shrank his head, his eyes full of fear. You still don't know the truth. Willow Tree was furious, grabbing the woman's hair and rubbing it on the ground. Speak, Qin Feiyang shouted. Wang Yuanshan's eyes trembled, and he hurriedly said, The herb field is in a large canyon, located northwest of the main tower, more than 10,000 miles away. The treasure vault is also under the herb field. 10,000 miles? So far. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Is it far? Wang Yuanshan asked. Qin Feiyang was stunned, then shook his head and smiled. For fake gods like Wang Yuanshan, 10,000 miles was indeed not far. Qin Feiyang asked, Is there anyone guarding the herb field and the treasure vault? No. In the past, the tower master lived there alone. If we want to enter the herb field, we have to get her permission first. Furthermore, she has also set up a divine power barrier around the medicinal field. Wang Yuanshan said. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and said, Yu Huang Willow Tree, go immediately. Yes. Chapter 1584. Wait. Qin Feiyang suddenly stretched out his hand. Is there anything else? Willow Tree asked. There's one thing I almost forgot. You seem to have said that there is an 8th grade elixir fire in the main tower? Qin Feiyang said. Yes. Willow Tree nodded. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Wang Yuanshan and asked, Who has this 8th grade elixir fire? Wang Yuanshan said, Pei Yinchang. Pei Yinchang? Qin Feiyang was stunned. It's not surprising. Because in the main tower, Pei Yinchang's alchemy talent is the highest. Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang said, Then go and find Pei Yinchang's body and his Qianquan bag. Take Chang Shui with you in case of accidents. Okay. Willow Tree nodded and turned to enter the portal. Qin Feiyang, don't forget your promise to me. Yu Huang laughed mischievously and followed after him. What promise? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Then he seemed to think of something and smiled bitterly. If he guessed correctly, the promise Yu Huang mentioned should be the artifact. When he gave the 7-star sword to Willow Tree, he said that he would give it to Yu Huang the next time he got one. And this time, he got 3 artifacts at once. If he didn't give one to Yu Huang, it seemed a little unreasonable. Headache. Qin Feiyang shook his head. To be honest, the first people he thought of were White-Eyed Wolf, Fatso and the others. After all, they had followed him for so long. Even if they didn't make any contributions, they had worked hard. Glancing at the yard, there was a stone table and 4 stone stools. Qin Feiyang walked over and sat on a stone stool. He looked at Wang Yuanshan and the others and said, Come here. A group of people rolled and crawled to Qin Feiyang. Kneel. Qin Feiyang said. Although they were all fake gods, no one dared to act rashly at this moment. They obediently knelt on the ground in an orderly manner. The woman roared. You spineless trash. Wang Yuanshan and the others immediately lowered their heads in shame. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and glanced at the woman. You have a backbone, don't you? I don't know if I have a backbone or not. I only know that you will never expect me to kneel in front of you. The woman sneered. Really? Let's wait and see. Qin Feiyang smiled playfully. With a thought, Fatso and Lu Hong appeared out of thin air. He said, Take their Qianquan bags. All right. Fatso shouted and immediately ran forward, seizing everyone's Qiankuan bags. Following that, Fatso ran in front of Qin Feiyang, placed the Qiankuan bag on the table, and laughed. Even the fake gods are obediently kneeling in front of you, boss. You are truly a born emperor. Ha! Qin Feiyang was stunned. Lu Hong also looked at Fatso with a strange expression. What was this dead pig head up to? Because this guy definitely wouldn't flatter him for no reason. Fatso said, "Why are you looking at Fat Lord like that? Fat Lord is telling the truth." "That's enough." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and said, "What kind of conspiracy do you have? Just say it." Fatso laughed embarrassedly. "Boss, look, didn't you get 3 divine artifacts this time?" As expected. Lu Hong pursed her lips. Qin Feiyang teased. And then, Fat Lord seems to have heard that there is a divine artifact called the Black Dragon Battle Axe. Look, Fat Lord's battle soul is the Black Dragon, and there is also the Black Dragon scripture. Don't you think that this Black Dragon Battle Axe is a good match for Fat Lord? Fatso laughed mischievously. Is it? Why didn't I notice? Lu Hong said disdainfully. Fatso's face darkened and said angrily, "When men are talking, women shouldn't interrupt, no rules." Yo. Lu Hong raised her eyebrows, grabbed Fatso's ear, and said angrily, "Do you have a prejudice against us women?" No. How would I dare? "Big sister, let go, it's falling." Fatso hurriedly said, grimacing in pain. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed, took out the Black Dragon Battle Axe and the jade pendant, placed them on the stone table, and said, "One for each of you." "One for each of us?" Lu Hong was stunned. Fatso hurriedly pulled Lu Hong's fingers away, and pounced on the Black Dragon Battle Axe. Qin Feiyang suddenly stretched out his hand, and pressed down on the Black Dragon Battle Axe. Fatso was slightly stunned, hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang, and shouted, "Boss, a real man keeps his word, don't go back on it." "Who said I'm going back on my word?" Qin Feiyang said angrily. "Then what are you doing?" Fatso was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, "Before I give you the Black Dragon Battle Axe, I want to say a few words first." Go ahead. Fatso said anxiously. Qin Feiyang said, "First the Black Dragon scripture, then the Black Dragon Battle Axe. I think I've already taken care of you." Yes, thank you, boss. To be able to follow boss is Fat Lord's lifetime honor." Fatso said with a flattering smile. "Shut up. Can't you be serious?" Qin Feiyang said angrily. Fatso was stunned, his expression became serious and said, "Continue." "I don't care about divine arts or divine artifacts. I can give you whatever you want. I only have one request. Work hard and don't let me down." Qin Feiyang said. Fatso was silent for a long time, and said, "Boss, don't worry, I will work hard and catch up with you as soon as possible." "You still don't understand. What I want is not for you to catch up with me, but to surpass me and become my strongest right-hand man." Qin Feiyang said. "This?" Fatso was a little dumbfounded. "What's wrong? No confidence?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "Yes." Fatso nodded. "Take it." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and let go of the Black Dragon Battle Axe. "Thank you, boss." Fatso smiled and immediately went forward to grab the Black Dragon Battle Axe. His face was blooming with joy. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Hong, who was standing at the side in a daze, and said with a smile, "This jade pendant, you can keep it too." "Me? Why are you giving it to me? I can't help you with anything. Moreover, if you give me the jade pendant, what will you give to Yu Huang?" Lu Hong said, "Who says you can't help me with anything? I believe you. And I feel that this jade pendant should only be able to exert its full strength, because there is a white dragon on this jade pendant. Generally, the totems on divine artifacts have some hidden mysteries, and the white dragon just happens to match your battle soul. As for Yu Huang, I will give him the fire lotus." Qin Feiyang smiled. Originally, he wanted to keep the fire lotus for his own use, but since he had promised Yu Huang, he would give it to him. Lu Hong was still a little hesitant. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He grabbed the jade pendant, got up and stuffed it into Lu Hong's hand, and said with a smile, "Just take it. Why are you being so polite with me?" Yes. Why should I be polite with you? Lu Hong smiled and looked down at the jade pendant, and said, then it will be called the White Dragon Pendant from now on. Up to you. Qin Feiyang smiled and returned to his seat, and coughed dryly and said, Fatso. Fatty was stunned for a moment before he quickly replied, yes. Let me ask you, what is in the mortal world? Qin Feiyang glanced at the woman and said lightly. This? Fatso was stunned. Why did he suddenly ask this? Moreover, the boss had lived in Iron Ox Town for as long as 5 years and knew the mortal world very well. Why did he ask him? Qin Feiyang said. I ask you answer. Okay. Fatso nodded and pondered for a while and said, in the mortal world, except for divine weapons and divine arts, there is everything, such as pots and pans, oil, salt and vinegar, swords, spears, sticks and sticks. Qin Feiyang said. Yes, but there is one thing you didn't think of. What? Fatso was suspicious. Beggars. Qin Feiyang said. Fatso was slightly stunned and nodded. Yes, there are many beggars in the mortal world. Qin Feiyang smiled. The life of these beggars is very difficult. After this meal, there is no next meal, let alone find women, right? Fatso said. Yes, they can't even take care of their lives, how can they find women? Qin Feiyang said. Then if a woman suddenly appears in front of them with disheveled clothes, what do you think they will do? Needless to say, they will definitely swarm her. Fatso said. What's the situation? Lu Hong looked at the two of them suspiciously. Wang Yuanshan and the others were also puzzled. Why did they suddenly talk about beggars? Qin Feiyang grinned, looked at Fatso and asked, what do you think of our pagoda master? Pagoda master? The fatty stared blankly for a moment before he instantly understood Qin Feiyang's meaning. He turned around to size up the woman and said with a sinister smile, although you're old, you've maintained yourself well. You can be considered a great beauty. Hearing this, the woman suddenly had a bad premonition in her heart. Qin Feiyang nodded. I think so too, it is a pity to kill her like this. Yes, it is a pity. Fatso said. Qin Feiyang chuckled and said, then how about? Why not what? Fatso asked. Qin Feiyang said. Why don't we strip her and send her to the beggars and let them all have a taste of women? Lu Hong burst out laughing. The woman's face instantly turned pale. Wang Yuanshan and the others were also stunned. Good idea. Fatso's eyes lit up and he turned to look at the woman saying, with your beauty in the eyes of those beggars, you are a fairy-like existence. I believe that they will definitely love you. You demons! The woman roared, her eyes full of resentment. Qin Feiyang said, strip her naked. Okay. Fatso nodded and strode to the woman. The woman hurriedly retreated in horror and cried, no, please don't do this to me. She was afraid. Not to mention really going, just thinking about this kind of thing made her feel despair. Moreover, she was a false god, the dignified pagoda master, an existence that stood at the top of the black tortoise world. How could such a thing happen to her? Begging me is useless. I have to carry out the boss's orders. Besides, isn't it just serving a group of men? It won't take your life. What are you afraid of? Fatso grinned and grabbed the woman's clothes. No. Kill me, don't torture me, I beg you. The woman screamed in panic and knelt on the ground, looking at Qin Feiyang and the other two begging endlessly. Weren't you very unyielding just now? You also said that you would never take the initiative to kneel in front of me. What's going on now? Why are you kneeling? Get up. Chapter 1585. When the woman heard this, she immediately shouted angrily, you said all this just to force me to kneel? What do you think? Qin Feiyang looked at her mockingly. Bastard. The woman roared angrily. Shut up. If you don't behave, I'll ask Fatso to strip you naked and send you to the beggars. Don't think that I can't do it. Qin Feiyang sneered. The woman's eyes trembled and her anger disappeared. She lowered her head in fear. Qin Feiyang snorted and said calmly, tell me, how can I get rid of the art of puppetry? The woman was stunned. She raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang. Then, she immediately lowered her head and remained silent. Fatso shouted, are you mute? The woman turned a deaf ear and refused to speak. Let's see if your mouth is tougher or my methods are tougher. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. He turned to Fatso and said, strip her. Okay. Fatso laughed and grabbed the woman's clothes. He tore them into pieces, leaving only her underwear. The woman suddenly screamed in panic and shouted at Fatso, bastard, stay away from me. Fatso crossed his arms and sneered. If you don't speak, I'm afraid you won't even be able to keep your underwear. Think carefully. I can't get rid of the art of puppetry, because the art of puppetry is unsolvable. The woman exclaimed. Unsolvable? Do you think we're 3 years old? Fatso laughed angrily and grabbed the woman's underwear. I'm not lying. The art of puppetry is unsolvable. This is what the deputy chief of the Vanga League told me personally. The woman said anxiously. Fatso was stunned. He frowned and said, what does this have to do with the Vanga League? The art of puppetry was given to me by the deputy chief of the Vanga League. But he only gave me the cultivation method of the puppet technique, not the method to remove it. The woman said. Vanga League deputy chief. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Fatso looked at Wang Yuanshan and the others and asked, is what she said true? We don't know either. That's because it's usually the tower owner who contacts the Vanga League, Wang Yuanshan said. Fatso turned to look at Qin Feiyang with a questioning look. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, and formed a seal with both hands. A slave seal appeared and sank into the woman's head. Ah! The woman immediately held her head and howled miserably. What's going on? Wang Yuanshan and the others were bewildered. But soon, the woman stopped screaming and everything returned to normal. What happened? The woman was also a little confused. She looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, what did you do to me? Qin Feiyang did not answer. He said, I'll ask you again. Do you really not know how to break the art of puppetry? After that, he was secretly peeping into the woman's mind. What do you want me to say to make you believe me? I really don't know. The woman roared. Qin Feiyang looked at Fatso and shook his head. She's not lying. You. The woman looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. What was going on? He was still suspicious before, but now he was sure that she was not lying? How could he be so sure? Fatso glanced at the woman and asked Qin Feiyang, what do we do now? Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment. His eyes flashed and he said, if the slave seal can break the blood-soul technique, I'll try and see if it can break the puppet technique. The reason why the slave seal can break the blood-soul technique is because the blood-soul technique is a battle art. And the puppet technique and the slave seal are both divine arts. They shouldn't be able to do it. Fatso thought. How do you know if you don't try? Qin Feiyang imprinted again. Another slave seal condensed. He glanced at Wang Yuanshan and the others. With a wave of his hand, the slave seal flew towards the top of Wang Yuanshan's head. Wang Yuanshan panicked and instinctively wanted to escape. What do you want to do? Fatso shouted. Wang Yuanshan's body trembled. He immediately knelt on the ground obediently, not daring to move again. Whiz! The slave seal cut through the sky and entered the top of Wang Yuanshan's head. Wang Yuanshan immediately held his head and rolled on the ground. His face was filled with pain as he screamed miserably. Pagoda Master is like this, and Wang Yuanshan is also like this. What exactly is that imprint? Shirlan and the others were surprised. At the same time, they became nervous. Will Qin Feiyang also do something to them? Qin Feiyang stared fixedly at Wang Yuanshan. His eyes flickered with a trace of expectation. Time passed by. Finally, Wang Yuanshan stopped screaming. He climbed up and looked at himself suspiciously. Why didn't he feel any change? Wait a minute. Soul. He suddenly felt that his soul seemed to have an extra shackle. It was very uncomfortable. Qin Feiyang said, can you feel that the puppet technique has disappeared? I heard Pagoda Master say that the puppet technique is one with the soul. It's invisible and colorless. There's no feeling. Even if it disappears, I won't be able to feel it, Wang Yuanshan said. Soul. Qin Feiyang was stunned. His eyebrows scrunched up. A soul can't be controlled by two people at the same time. If the puppet technique is really one with the soul, then there will only be two results. Either the slave seal will destroy the puppet technique and replace it, or the puppet technique will block the slave seal's devouring. In short, it's a competition of levels. Whoever's level is higher will be able to seize control. Feiyang, look at Pagoda Master. Just when Qin Feiyang was confused, Lu Hong's voice suddenly sounded. Pagoda Master? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned to look at the woman. His eyes suddenly had a touch of surprise. His attention was on Wang Yuanshan. He didn't notice that the corner of the woman's mouth was bleeding at this moment. What's going on? Qin Feiyang murmured. Wait. Could it be? He seemed to have thought of something. His expression was slightly stiff. Then he suddenly slapped his head. What a fool. Why did he look at Wang Yuanshan? He should look at the woman. Because the woman was the one controlling Wang Yuanshan. Once the puppet technique is broken, the woman will suffer a backlash, just like the blood soul technique and the slave seal. In other words, the woman's mouth was bleeding now. It was most likely caused by the backlash. And the woman's expression at this moment was extremely exaggerated. Her eyes were wide open. His mouth was also wide open, enough to stuff a person into it. In short, she looked at Wang Yuanshan with an extremely shocked expression. What did this mean? It meant that something incredible must have happened to Wang Yuanshan. Fatso! Qin Feiyang shouted. Fatso was also looking at the woman suspiciously. When he heard Qin Feiyang's voice, he retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang. As soon as he saw Qin Feiyang's eyes, he understood. He kicked the woman and said, Tell me, has Wang Yuanshan's puppet technique been broken? The woman nodded instinctively. Her dull face was full of disbelief. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang immediately stood up. His face was instantly filled with joy. The slave seal could break the puppet technique. So now, the woman couldn't threaten him anymore? He waved his hand and Wang Yuer appeared. Yuer. Quickly help grandfather plead for leniency. Ask Qin Feiyang not to kill me. Wang Yuanshan hurriedly got up and ran to Wang Yuer's side. Who asked you to get up? Fatso said angrily. He stepped forward, grabbed Wang Yuanshan, and threw him back like garbage. Wang Yuer looked at the embarrassed Wang Yuanshan with a complicated expression. In the end, she sighed secretly and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. She opened her mouth slightly, as if she wanted to say something. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, Don't talk. I'll help you break the puppet technique first. Break the puppet technique? Wang Yuer was stunned and asked, Can you do it? Qin Feiyang nodded. As his hands moved, a slave seal quickly took shape. Bear with it. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the slave seal disappeared into the top of Wang Yuer's head. Wang Yuer's face suddenly distorted with pain. But she didn't make a sound and endured it silently. Zing. Qin Feiyang noticed that the woman's body trembled slightly and blood flowed from the corners of her mouth again. At the same time, the woman also looked at Wang Yuer, and the shock on her face was even stronger. Obviously, Wang Yuer's puppet technique had been erased. However, Qin Feiyang only broke Wang Yuer's puppet technique and didn't use the slave seal to control her. I didn't expect you to be able to break the puppet technique. Have you also cultivated the puppet technique? The woman looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then how did you break it? The woman asked. Qin Feiyang glanced at her and made another seal with his hands. One slave seal after another appeared and rushed into the top of Shirlan, and the others' heads one after another. Poof. As the puppet technique was broken, the woman suffered a backlash again and again. When the last person's puppet technique was broken, she spat out a mouthful of old blood. How is this possible? The woman shook her head and was dumbfounded. She couldn't accept this fact. Qin Feiyang's face was full of sarcasm. Moreover, Shirlan and the others were the same as Wang Yuanshan. After breaking the puppet technique, they were directly controlled by the slave seal. In other words, now even if these people recovered their cultivation, Qin Feiyang could kill them all with a thought. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the woman and said with a smile, Now what are you going to use to threaten me? The woman slumped to the ground weakly. Her face was pale. Despair shrouded her heart. Suddenly, she got up and crawled to Qin Feiyang's feet, begging, Don't kill me, I'll be your slave. With my strength, I can definitely help you. No need. Qin Feiyang said coldly. It's my fault. I shouldn't have coveted the soul-refining technique and divine crystals. I deserve to die. I beg you, don't kill me. You were once a disciple of the Pill Pagoda and we are considered family. Can you be merciful and let me go? The woman kowtowed and begged while crying. Her previous arrogance had completely disappeared, and she looked pitiful. She miscalculated. She really miscalculated. She didn't expect Qin Feiyang to be able to break the puppet technique. Now that Wang Yu had regained her freedom, Qin Feiyang no longer had any worries and could kill her if he wanted to. Fat Lord, I thought you would continue to be arrogant with us. It turns out that you're afraid of death too. It's true that in front of death, fake gods, self-esteem, and big shots are nothing. Fatso sneered. Yes, yes, yes. The woman nodded submissively. Tizke. Fatso's face was full of disdain. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He looked at the woman and said, Don't worry, I won't kill you. Really? Thank you, thank you. I will definitely not forget your great kindness. Chapter 1586. You're welcome. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. He looked at Fatso and said, Do you know what to do? Of course. Fatso laughed. He grabbed the woman and rushed into the sky. Then he locked in a direction and disappeared into the sky like lightning. What are you going to do to the Tower Master? Wang Yuanshan and the others looked at Qin Feiyang in shock and anger. Aren't you asking the obvious? Qin Feiyang laughed. Sherlan said, You're not really going to send the Tower Master to the beggars, are you? Do you want to go too? Qin Feiyang said. Sherlan's face suddenly turned pale. She roared, You're a beast. Humph. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly, got up, kicked Sherlan and said, When she tortured Wang Yu, or wasn't she behaving like a beast? Sherlan still wanted to say something. It's only right to pay what you owe. She deserves what she has now. You're busy with her because there's still a debt between us that hasn't been settled. Qin Feiyang said. Sherlan's body trembled. You're quite bold to pretend to be Wang Yu, and plot against me. Qin Feiyang sneered. Don't kill me. Sherlan hurriedly begged for mercy. Do you think I'm such a merciful person? Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and operated the slavery seal. Please, let me go. I can work for you. Sherlan held her head and screamed. But Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to her and looked extremely indifferent. Sherlan's head gradually cracked, and the blood that gushed out flowed down her face and dyed her whole body red. At this moment, there was no other thought in her mind. There was only one thought. She was in so much pain that she wanted to die. Looking at this scene, Wang Yuanshan and the others' faces were full of fear. Finally, in endless pain, she finally fell to the ground and died. Qin Feiyang glanced at Sherlan's corpse and then looked at Wang Yuanshan. Wang Yuanshan shuddered and hurriedly said, Feiyang, I was really forced into a corner. On account of you. Or spare this old life of mine. Old fate? I think it's a dog's life. Qin Feiyang sneered. Yes, yes, yes. This is my dog life. Wang Yuanshan nodded repeatedly, wagging his tail and begging for mercy. Qin Feiyang's eyes were full of disdain. Wang Yuanshan looked at Wang Yuer and said, Yuer, quickly speak up for your grandfather. Wang Yuer lowered her head and remained silent. Seeing this, Wang Yuanshan cried out sorrowfully, Yuer, I'm your biological grandfather. You can't leave me in the lurch. Even if you don't give me face, you should give your grandfather face. Grandpa. Wang Yuer's gaze trembled. She looked up at Wang Yuanshan, and then at Qin Feiyang. But she didn't expect that when she spoke, Qin Feiyang said, Are you really going to plead for him? Wang Yuer sighed. He's my biological grandfather after all. I can't sit back and do nothing. Moreover, he was indeed forced by the pagoda master. Forced? Isn't that because he's afraid of death? Although I haven't known him for long, I've already seen through what kind of person he is. I'm sure that if he encounters any danger in the future, he won't hesitate to sell you out. Qin Feiyang said. He won't. I promise. Wang Yuanshan hurriedly waved his hand and said solemnly. Qin Feiyang didn't want to bother with him at all. He looked at Wang Yuer and said, I'll ask you one last time. Are you sure you want me to let him go? Wang Yuer turned to look at Wang Yuanshan. You are your grandfather's only hope now. We've just reunited. Your grandfather hasn't seen me yet. Do you have the heart to watch me die? Wang Yuanshan shouted. Sigh. Wang Yuanshan sighed deeply. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and nodded lightly. All right. Qin Feiyang said. Thank you. Wang Yuanshan was overjoyed. Don't be happy too early. Although I won't kill you, the slavery seal is still there. The slavery seal controls your soul. As long as I think about it, I can erase you. Moreover, I can also peek into your inner thoughts through the slavery seal. So, if I find out that you're pretending to be obedient, I'll kill you without hesitation. Qin Feiyang said. What? Wang Yuanshan's face turned pale. The others were also panicking. They didn't expect that unknowingly, they had already been controlled by Qin Feiyang. And he could even peek into their inner thoughts? In that case, in the future, in front of Qin Feiyang, they would have no secrets to speak of. Qin Feiyang shouted. Do you understand? Wang Yuanshan trembled and nodded. I understand. I will be an honest person. Get lost. Qin Feiyang said. Wang Yuanshan hurriedly got up. But he found that his legs had lost their strength. It wasn't that they were numb, but that they were frightened by Qin Feiyang. Wang Yuanshan stepped forward and helped Wang Yuanshan up. He took out a spirit sea pill and said, Take it. Okay. Wang Yuanshan nodded, glanced at Qin Feiyang, took the spirit sea pill, and put it into his mouth. Wang Yuer turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, I want to have a good time with grandfather, but you definitely don't want to see him again, so I plan to leave for a while. Be careful. Qin Feiyang reminded. He didn't ask her to stay, because there was no need. Moreover, he really didn't want to see Wang Yuanshan again. As for Wang Yuer's safety, he wasn't worried about it now. After all, Wang Yuanshan was a fake god. After watching the two of them leave, Qin Feiyang withdrew his gaze and looked at the other 6 people. The 6 of them suddenly became nervous. Lu Hong's eyes flashed, and she leaned over to Qin Feiyang's ear and whispered a few words. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said with a smile, Fortunately, you reminded me. Otherwise, I really wouldn't have thought of this problem. Lu Hong smiled slightly. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and nodded with a smile. Okay, we'll do as you say. Then he took out 6 spirit sea pills and threw them to the 6 people. What does that mean? The 6 of them were stunned. Qin Feiyang said, It means that I won't kill you. Why? The 6 of them were puzzled. I killed Pei Yunchang, Sherlan, and tortured the Tower Master because they schemed against me. As for you, although you also want to kill me, after all, you're elders of the Tower Master, so it's understandable. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The 6 of them looked at each other. Logically speaking, they should be happy that they escaped with their lives, but they just couldn't feel happy. They felt that it was not that simple. Do you really want to die? I can fulfill your wish. Qin Feiyang said. No. The 6 of them hurriedly shook their heads. Since you don't want to die, what are you waiting for? Qin Feiyang said angrily. The 6 of them shuddered and hurriedly grabbed the spirit sea pills on the ground and stuffed them into their mouths. Qin Feiyang said, Get up. The 6 of them looked at each other and slowly got up. Their legs were so weak that it took them a while to recover. Swish. At this moment, 2 figures appeared. They were Yu Huang and Willow Tree. But at this moment, their eyes were extremely fierce. Qin Feiyang looked at them and asked suspiciously, What's wrong? Someone beat us to it. Willow Tree said in a deep voice. Who? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Zhuge Mingyang. Lu Mu gritted his teeth and continued. Also, that bastard was hiding in the dark, preparing to launch a sneak attack on us. Luckily, Yu Huang discovered it in time, and wasn't enveloped by his innate ability. Also, it's also fortunate that you gave pale snow to me. If not, Yu Huang and I would have really died there. He's really haunting us. Qin Feiyang was furious. The Tower Master was the overlord of the Black Tortoise world, so the treasures in the herb field and the treasure vault must be quite amazing. He was unwilling to give them to Zhuge Mingyang just like that. He's the same as us. He just entered the Black Tortoise world. But how did he know where the main tower's herb field is? He even knows the location of the treasure vault? It's too strange. Lu Hong frowned. Willow Tree said, I asked him about this and he didn't hide it. He said that it has something to do with the guardians. What? Lu Hong's eyes trembled. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands. As expected, it was this giant python behind the scenes. He said, what else did he say? He said that when he saw that the herbs in the herb field were still there, he expected that you would send someone over. So he ambushed there and killed the people who went to plunder the herbs. This way, he could anger you and you would naturally kill him. Willow Tree said. How despicable. Lu Hong said in disgust. It doesn't matter if he's despicable or not. I just want to know, why does he want me to kill him? Can't he be reborn if others kill him? Qin Feiyang frowned. It's possible. Otherwise, why would he come to you specifically? Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang said. If that's the case, then it's easy to deal with. When the time comes, I won't make a move. You guys can kill him. It's not that easy now. Look at his special ability. He can deprive people of 4 small realms. I'm afraid that even if Yu Huang and I join forces, we will only be killed by him. Willow Tree sighed. Yu Huang also nodded. Don't worry about this. Although I can't do anything to his war soul now, when White-Eyed Wolf breaks through to the semi-god realm, his war soul will no longer be a threat to us. At that time, I'm afraid he won't even have the courage to activate his war soul. Qin Feiyang sneered. That's right. Brother Wolf's special ability is the nemesis of all war souls. Zhuge Mingyang also knows this, so as long as Brother Wolf breaks through to the semi-god realm quickly, he won't be a threat. Lu Hong nodded. But the key point is that White-Eyed Wolf is still far from the semi-god realm. Willow Tree said. That doesn't matter. Although Zhuge Mingyang has already stepped into the semi-god realm, White-Eyed Wolf's talent isn't bad either. Coupled with the ancient castle's time rule, I believe it will be able to step into the semi-god realm in a few years. And in a few years, as long as I don't kill Zhuge Mingyang with his talent, he won't be able to become a real war god. Qin Feiyang smiled. Let's hope so. Willow Tree sighed. Why are you sighing? Will you still care about what happens in a few years' time? Yu Huang rolled his eyes. Why can't I care? Willow Tree wondered. Yu Huang was speechless. Are you a pig? Can you leave the Black Tortoise world? Chapter 1587. That's right. They're outside and you're in the Black Tortoise realm. How are you going to manage them? Yu Huang said. Willow Tree smiled helplessly, looked at Shirlan's body, and then glanced at the 6 elders standing at the side, and asked suspiciously, Young master, why didn't you kill them? I left them for you. Qin Feiyang said. Left them for me? Willow Tree was stunned and asked suspiciously, Why did you leave them for me? As you said, we will leave the Black Tortoise realm sooner or later. How will you survive here alone? So I have to plan for you in advance. The 6 of them are all semi-divinities. With them helping you, you should be able to protect yourself without any problems, Zhang Xian said. Qin Feiyang laughed. Willow Tree was stunned. It turned out that the young master was planning for his future. Plop. Suddenly, he knelt on the ground and sobbed. Young master, after living for so many years, this is the first time someone cares about me. Thank you. Okay, don't be pretentious. Get up. Qin Feiyang interrupted him and laughed. Willow Tree nodded, got up and looked at Qin Feiyang gratefully, and even his eyes were a little wet. If you really want to thank someone, you should thank Lu Hong, because she reminded me. Otherwise, these 6 people would have become corpses long ago. Qin Feiyang said. Willow Tree looked at Lu Hong and cupped his hands. Thank you, Miss Lu. We're all on the same side. Why are you so polite? Lu Hong said with a smile. It was only at this moment that the 6 of them came to a sudden realization. So the reason they were kept alive was because of the willow tree. Yu Huang suddenly said. What about that woman? Qin Feiyang said briefly. Hearing this, Willow Tree and Yu Huang were both shocked. Young Master was really a genius to be able to think of such a way to torture people. What about Wang Yuanshan? Willow Tree asked. She left with Wang Yuer. What a stupid woman. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Willow Tree and Yu Huang looked at each other and didn't say anything. Although he didn't see it with his own eyes, he could imagine that Qin Feiyang must have let Wang Yuanshan off because of Wang Yuer's plea. Willow Tree suddenly raised his eyebrows and said, Young Master, there's something I don't know if I should say. Speak. Qin Feiyang said. Although the Pagoda Master's cultivation has been crippled and her cosmos sac has been taken away by you, I suggest that you kill her. After all, her identity is extraordinary. She has many friends in the Black Tortoise world. If these people see her, they will definitely lend her a helping hand. Especially the Vanga League. Willow Tree said. Don't worry, Fatso will handle it properly. Qin Feiyang smiled. Willow Tree nodded. That's enough. Quickly rest. There's still a tough battle to fight. Qin Feiyang said. His eyes flashed. What else do we have to do? The 6 people were surprised. Of course, we have to destroy the Heavenly Sun Empire. Willow Tree said. The 6 people immediately sucked in a breath of air. This person was going to turn the Black Tortoise world upside down. The next morning. The Nether Hall. What? The Pagoda Master was destroyed? Not a single one is left. The first elder, third elder, fourth elder, and fifth elder were sitting at a tea table. They looked at a middle-aged man in front of them with shock on their faces. Yes. This matter has spread throughout the Black Tortoise world. Everyone is talking about it. The middle-aged man said. This damned little bastard. What kind of monster is he? Because the Pagoda Master has the Vanga League as its backer, it's stronger than the Nether Hall. How could it be destroyed by him? Then how are we going to find him and avenge our humiliation? The third elder said. The first elder, fourth elder, and fifth elder lowered their heads. They were silent. Upon closer inspection, one could see a strong sense of fear in their eyes. No matter what, the Vice Palace Master has already ordered us to take him down. The first elder raised his head and said. The fourth elder said. Even the Pagoda Master is no match for him. What can we do? There's still the Vanga League. Qin Feiyang's destruction of the Pagoda Master is equivalent to the Vanga League's victory. Therefore, I'm sure that the Vanga League won't sit back and do nothing. The first elder said. The fourth elder pondered for a while. He looked at the middle-aged man and asked, Do you know where he is? No one knows. After destroying the Pagoda Master, it's as if they've evaporated into thin air. The middle-aged man shook his head. The fourth elder turned to look at the first elder and said, Even if the Vanga League makes a move, they'll have to know where he is first. That's not difficult. The Heavenly Sun Empire and the Great Qin Empire have an unresolvable grudge. I expect that Qin Feiyang will go to Heavenly Sun City sooner or later. Because Heavenly Sun City is the capital of the Heavenly Sun Empire. The first elder's eyes flashed. He raised his head and looked at the middle-aged man. He ordered, Go to Heavenly Sun City and guard it now. Once there's news about Qin Feiyang, inform us immediately. Yes. The middle-aged man responded respectfully, turned around and strode away. But before he walked out of the door, he turned to look at the 4 elders and said, There's one more thing. The people in Peach Blossom City were all killed inexplicably. What? The 4 of them suddenly stood up, their faces full of shock. This subordinate personally went to Peach Blossom City to confirm. The ground was full of dried corpses, and no one was alive. Moreover, the border area of the Devil's Land was also full of dried corpses of ferocious beasts. It's like hell. It makes one's scalp tingle. The middle-aged man said. Dried corpses? How could they be dried corpses? The 4 of them were surprised. I don't know either. Their flesh and blood seemed to have been hollowed out by something. The middle-aged man shook his head. The 4th elder said, Could it be Qin Feiyang's doing again? It's not Qin Feiyang. The middle-aged man said. What do you mean? The 4th elder looked at the middle-aged man and asked. The middle-aged man said, Because according to the time of death of those people and ferocious beasts, Qin Feiyang was in the main tower at that time, so it can't be him. If it's not Qin Feiyang, then who could it be? Why don't I know that there's someone in the Black Tortoise world who has such a terrifying method? The fourth elder said. No one knows who it is. However, someone heard from the ferocious beasts in the depths of the Devil's Land that someone seemed to have broken through to the false god realm in the direction of Peach Blossom City. The middle-aged man said. Broke through to the false god realm? The first elder and the others looked at each other and said, then it should be related to this person. Then should we investigate thoroughly? The middle-aged man asked. If we can investigate clearly, it's best to investigate. But the most important thing is still Qin Feiyang. The first elder said. Understood. The middle-aged man nodded and turned to leave. At the same time, Tianyang City, in a magnificent hall, there was a middle-aged man about 1.8 meters tall. He was quite thin and wore a gorgeous golden python robe with golden boots. He was sitting on a pure golden throne. His face was cold. His gaze was extremely sharp. Two thick eyebrows like sharp swords rose to his temples. He sat there like a deity, and his entire body exuded an extremely majestic aura. Below, a middle-aged man in golden armor was slowly telling them about the destruction of the main tower. A moment later, the man in golden armor bowed and said, Lord Divine Lord, that's about it. Amazing. He even dared to destroy the main tower. Putting aside the grudges between us and Great Qin, I have to admit that this kid is really outstanding. Qin Batian finally has a successor. The middle-aged man in the python robe said with a deep and powerful voice. He's outstanding, but the Vanga League won't let him continue like this. The man in golden armor sneered. It's best if the Vanga League can intervene. After all, the Tianyang Empire can't touch Changshui in his hands. But we must save Mu Xingkong. Immediately pass down the order to strictly investigate everyone who enters Tianyang City. The middle-aged man in the python robe said. Lord Divine Lord. Do you mean that Qin Feiyang is coming to Tianyang City? The man in golden armor was surprised. That's right. As the descendant of Qin Batian, how can he not come to check out our strength? I reckon that his next target will be the Tianyang Empire. So everyone must be vigilant. Especially the Imperial Palace, strengthen the security. Before Qin Feiyang shows up, not even a fly can fly in. The middle-aged man in the python robe said. Okay. The man in golden armor nodded. Go and arrange it. The middle-aged man in the python robe waved his hand. I'll take my leave. The man in golden armor bowed and turned to leave. Wait. Suddenly, the middle-aged man in the python robe said again. Lord, do you have any other orders? The man in golden armor turned to look at him suspiciously. How is Mu Tianyang? The middle-aged man in the python robe asked. The man in golden armor said. He's refining the spirit congealing pill and condensing his divine sense. The middle-aged man in the python robe frowned and said. Go and call him to see me. Okay. The man in golden armor nodded and then quickly left. Qin Feiyang, you've really surprised this marquis. But how long can you jump in the face of the powerful Vanga League? The middle-aged man in the python robe murmured with a cold light flashing in his eyes. Soon, a blurry figure entered the hall. It was Mu Tianyang. Mu Tianyang looked at the middle-aged man in the python robe above and said lightly, Yen Shinho, why are you looking for this emperor? Yen Shinho raised his eyebrows and said, in order to avenge you, Mu Xingkong's life and death are unknown. Aren't you worried at all? Is it useful to worry? Mu Tianyang asked. Yen Shinho slapped the armrest and said angrily, what is your attitude? When has Mu Tianyang been scolded like this? Suddenly he was also furious and shouted. This emperor also wants to ask you, what is your attitude now? In front of this emperor. You are still sitting high above. It is simply presumptuous. Presumptuous. Yen Shinho was furious and said. In terms of seniority, this ho is still your elder. You dare to speak to this ho like this. Elder? This emperor does not deny this. But in the imperial family, there are no elders or juniors, only the emperor and the minister. I am the emperor, you are the minister, you have to be respectful to this emperor. Moreover, this emperor is a true war god. What qualifications do you have to look down on this emperor from above? Mu Tianyang said proudly. You. Yan Shunho was furious and roared. You are so powerful, isn't the Heavenly Sun Empire destroyed in your hands? Humph. Sooner or later, this emperor will take it back. You old fellows just open your eyes and watch. Is there anything else? If not, this emperor will take his leave. Mu Tianyang said coldly. Yan Shunho let out a long breath and said, This Ho wants to know everything about Qin Feiyang. Mu Tianyang waved his hand and Mu Qing appeared. Mu Tianyang looked at Mu Qing and said expressionlessly, I don't have time to waste with him, you tell him. Yes. Mu Qing respectfully replied. Chapter 1588. Mu Qing looked up at Yan Shunho and said, You shouldn't treat the Lord with such an attitude. You're also so presumptuous? Don't forget, you're also a member of the Mu family. Yan Shunho said angrily. Mu Qing said lightly, I know in terms of seniority, I should call you ancestor, but in my eyes, there's only the Lord. You, Yan Shunho was about to go crazy. Although you're older than the Lord, whether it's talent or strength, you're not as good as the Lord. If you treat him like this now, it won't do you any good in the future. Mu Qing said. How dare you? Are you threatening me? Yan Shunho shouted. I don't dare. Mu Qing shook her head and said, I just want to tell you that you should know when to stop. Alright, let's not talk too much. I'll tell you about Qin Feiyang right now. Qingyang Mountain Range. In the castle. A night passed outside, but several days had passed inside the castle. Everyone's injuries had basically healed. As for Qin Feiyang, these days he was copying the Xing formula. Whoosh. Accompanied by the sound of breaking air, Fatso landed in the sky above the courtyard like lightning. Seeing that there was no one in the courtyard, he knew that everyone was in the castle. His face was flushed, and his spirit was hale and hearty. He shouted, Boss, it's done. Swish. Soon. Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree Yu Huang, and the 6 elders all appeared in the courtyard. Fatso rushed in front of Qin Feiyang. Willow Tree looked at Fatso and suspiciously said, Did something good happen to you? Yes. Fatso nodded. What good thing? Willow Tree was curious. On the way back, Fat Lord met a man and a woman. He eavesdropped on them saying that there was a treasure left by a fake god in a place in the Qingyang mountain range. Fatso said, A treasure left by a fake god? Willow Tree was bewildered. Although he was also a false god, the treasures left behind by false gods usually consisted of 1 or 2 divine weapons or divine arts. Therefore, even a false god like him was tempted by this news. Are you sure? Yu Huang said. Fatso shook his head. I'm not sure. I only heard it from them. Where? I'm very familiar with the Qingyang mountain range. If there really is a treasure, I should know about it. Willow Tree said. Fatso said, according to them, it seems to be a place called Yellow Sand Valley. Yellow Sand Valley? Willow Tree was stunned and sneered. Are you kidding? I've been to Yellow Sand Valley before. It's just a desolate valley with no treasures at all. I don't know about that. However, I don't think the two of them are talking, because they are all 5-star combat emperors. Fatso said. 5-star battle emperor? Willow Tree was stunned. If they were 5-star combat emperors, then this matter might be true. Qin Feiyang asked. What about the woman? She was tortured by dozens of beggars for an entire night. I killed her this morning. Fat Lord even recorded it. Do you want to see it? It's very interesting. Fatso smiled wretchedly. Get lost. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were also speechless. He actually recorded it. This bastard, what was he thinking? As for the 6 elders, they looked to each other in dismay. They did not expect the pagoda master to end up in such a miserable state. How pitiful. Fatso smiled and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He asked, Boss, should we go to Yellow Sand Valley to take a look? Qin Feiyang pondered for a while. He looked at Willow Tree and asked, How far is Yellow Sand Valley from here? Not far. With my cultivation and speed, it'll only take 200 to 300 breaths. Moreover, there's a teleportation gate. We can arrive there in an instant. Willow Tree said. Then let's go and take a look. It won't take much time anyway, Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Willow Tree nodded and opened a teleportation gate. The group entered in a single file. Before Willow Tree entered the teleportation gate, he set up a divine power boundary around the courtyard. In the northwest of Qingyang mountain range, there were a few towering mountains that formed a huge valley. In the valley, there were bushes and weeds everywhere. Because it was cylindrical, sunlight could not shine in, so it was very humid. There was also a thick layer of rotten leaves on the ground. In the valley, there were many wild beasts looking for food. There were even more flying insects and poisonous insects. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang and the others landed in the valley. The aura emitted by Willow Tree and the others instantly silenced the valley. The wild beasts and flying insects instinctively hid. Qin Feiyang scanned the valley. The valley was about 500 to 600 feet long, filled with the smell of decay. It looked very desolate. Yu Huang said, "It really is a desolate valley. Let's look for it," Qin Feiyang said. Yu Huang, Willow Tree, and the 6 elders immediately spread out and started a carpet search. Qin Feiyang also landed in the center of the valley. He looked around and flipped over the rotten leaves on the ground, revealing a layer of very wet yellow sand. Qin Feiyang grabbed a handful of yellow sand and carefully observed it. He found that the yellow sand was very fine. Fatso walked around and came to Qin Feiyang's side. He asked, "How is it? Did you find anything unusual?" "No, it's just a very ordinary kind of sand." Qin Feiyang shook his head and threw away the sand in his hand. Then he looked at Willow Tree's group. After searching the valley, they searched along the giant peaks on all sides. A few moments later, Willow Tree was the first to return. He shook his head and said, "I didn't find any treasure. I think that man and woman were just talking nonsense. Let's wait for Yu Huang and the others," Qin Feiyang said. Yu Huang and the 6 elders also returned one after another. They also didn't find anything. Seems like there really isn't any treasure. Fatso shook his head regretfully. He suddenly thought of something and looked at Willow Tree. "Use your inner sight and search carefully again, because there are some things that can't be seen with the naked eye. It's obvious. There can't be any treasure in this kind of place where even birds don't shit." Willow Tree was helpless. But he still followed his words and released his inner sight. He didn't even let go of the underground. A few dozen breaths later, Willow Tree retracted his inner sight and said, "Nothing." "Then what's going on? It can't be out of nowhere." Fatso frowned. "Let's go. Don't waste time. Let's go to the Heavenly Sun Empire." Qin Feiyang laughed. Willow Tree opened another portal. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to enter the portal, Fatso suddenly grabbed him and said, "Why don't we wait a little longer?" "Wait for what?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "Those two are also rushing towards Quicksand Valley. If there really is a treasure, they definitely know where it is hidden. Let's just hide in the dark and take a look. It won't waste too much time anyway," Fatso said. "If they are really 5-star combat emperors and don't know the coordinates here, then they will need at least half an hour to arrive," Willow Tree said. "It's only half an hour. What does it matter? If there really is a treasure, wouldn't it be a pity if we miss it?" Fatso said. Qin Feiyang glanced at Fatso and said helplessly, "All right, then let's wait a little longer. Yu Huang, go up and take a look. Inform us when they arrive." "Okay." Yu Huang nodded and turned into a stream of light. He flew above the valley and instantly merged into the void. Time passed little by little. Whoosh! Yu Huang suddenly appeared in front of Qin Feiyang and said in surprise, "There really is a man and a woman coming this way." Qin Feiyang said, "Let's go and take a look." A group of people followed behind Yu Huang and swept to the top of a mountain in the south. They saw 2 figures coming at lightning speed. Both of them looked very young, about 25 or 26 years old. They were both wearing gorgeous clothes. Their appearance was also quite extraordinary. The man's eyebrows were as sharp as swords. His figure was tall, and there was an insufferably arrogant look between his eyebrows. The woman was beautiful. Her hair was like a waterfall. Her figure was exquisite and tall. Her skin was as soft as water. However, her expression was somewhat cold. and she gave off an icy feeling that kept people 1,000 miles away. They are indeed 5-star combat emperors. Yu Huang mumbled. How could it be them? However, Lu Mu's brows furrowed tightly. You know them? Fatso asked. Yes. Both of them have powerful backgrounds. Willow Tree nodded. His eyes were extremely solemn. Powerful backgrounds? Fatso, Yu Huang, and Qin Feiyang glanced at each other, and then at the 6 elders. They realized that the 6 of them also looked solemn. They could even see a trace of fear. This made Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang puzzled. One had to know. Willow Tree and the rest were pseudo-gods. How could they be so fearful? What were the identities of this man and woman? That man is a famous playboy in the Black Tortoise community. People call him Young Master Feng. As for that woman, she's also a young lady from a wealthy family. It can be said that their lives are more precious than pseudo-gods like us. Willow Tree said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyang, Fatso, and Yu Huang were stunned. More precious than pseudo-gods? You must be kidding. Willow Tree suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang and said, We can't provoke these two. Let's go. What are their backgrounds? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Willow Tree said, They are both from the Vanga League. Vanga League? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned his head and curiously sized up the man and woman. No wonder they were so arrogant. It turned out that they were from the Vanga League. Yu Huang said disdainfully, It's just a Vanga League. You're so weak. If they were just ordinary disciples of the Vanga League, we wouldn't care. But one of them is the son of the League leader. His name is Ning Yifeng. People call him Young Master Feng. The other is the daughter of the Vice League leader. Her name is Zhao Ximeng. People call her Fairy Meng. How can we not be afraid? Willow Tree said angrily. This, Yu Huang's eyes flashed. They were the children of the League leader and Vice League leader? However, Fatso laughed happily. What are you laughing at? Willow Tree and the 6 elders looked at him suspiciously. Fatso said, Since they are so powerful, the treasure here must be real. So what if it's real? Do you dare to fight with them? Willow Tree said. Why not? Fatso smiled arrogantly. Chapter 1589. It's over, it's over. Willow Tree immediately had an uneasy premonition in his heart. The same went for the 6 elders. These people who were not afraid of anything, who knew what stupid things they would do later. Let's go to the castle first. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and disappeared with everyone in an instant. After a while, Ning Yifeng and Ning Yifeng entered the valley. Zhao Ximeng glanced at the valley and frowned. Is this the Yellow Sand Valley? Ning Yifeng took out a map. After carefully comparing it, he nodded and said, It's here. Zhao Ximeng looked around and said, How can there be treasures left by a fake god in such a broken place? Are you sure the information is accurate? I'm not sure. Ning Yifeng shook his head. Not sure? Zhao Ximeng's beautiful eyebrows suddenly raised and said angrily, If you're not sure, why are you telling me so confidently? If I didn't say so, would you have come? Ning Yifeng felt wronged. Aren't you bored? Zhao Ximeng was obviously a little angry. Sister, don't be anxious. Whether there are treasures or not, we'll know once we find them. Besides, this is what the Grand Deacon said. It shouldn't be fake. Ning Yifeng said. The Grand Deacon said that? Zhao Ximeng was surprised. Yes. Yesterday, I accidentally overheard the Grand Deacon and the Second Deacon talking about a treasure map left by a fake god. I'm going to find time to take a look. At first, I didn't care. Later, I had an idea. Why not take this opportunity to show off? So that my father won't say that I'm useless all day. So, I thought of a way to steal the treasure map from the Grand Deacon. Ning Yifeng chuckled. You dare to steal the Grand Deacon's things? Zhao Ximeng was dumbfounded. It doesn't matter. When we find the treasure and return safely, I think the Grand Deacon will not blame me. Instead, he will praise me. Of course, he will also praise you. Ning Yifeng grinned. Zhao Ximeng rolled her eyes. Inside the castle, Fatso looked at Willow Tree and said suspiciously, Who is this Grand Deacon? Why are they so afraid? The Great Deacon is a big shot in the Vanga League. His position in the Vanga League is the same as the Nether Pavilion's Grand Elder. Apart from the Alliance Master and Vice Alliance Master, his position is the highest. Willow Tree said. I see. Fatso nodded. Outside. Within the valley, Ning Yifeng and his companion swooped down, landing on the ground in the middle of the valley. Ning Yifeng immediately started searching. Zhao Ximing, however, remained motionless and impatient. Sister, what are you doing? Help me find it. Ning Yifeng urged when he saw the situation. Not interested. Zhao Ximing said indifferently. Ning Yifeng said discontentedly. Are you used to being the eldest young miss? Don't you know how to work hard? Who said I didn't work hard enough? If I didn't work hard, would I be where I am now? I just don't think there's any treasure here. It's just a waste of time. Actually, I'm quite interested in that Qin Feiyang. Zhao Ximing said, her eyes flickering. Qin Feiyang? Ning Yifeng raised his eyebrows and warned. Although I've never seen this person, I know he's not a good person from the rumors. You'd better not provoke him, lest you get burned. I didn't expect there to be someone you're afraid of, Zhao Ximing said in surprise. Who said I'm afraid of him? I'm the son of the leader of the Vanga League. Why would I care about a clown like him? I just don't want you to be in danger. Ning Yifeng pursed his lips. Come on. Although you're the son of the leader, others probably don't think much of you. After all, he's the one who destroyed the main tower, stole the 7-star sword, killed the second elder of the Nether Hall, and kidnapped Mu Xingkong. Maybe in his eyes, you're just a useless playboy. Zhao Ximing said. How am I a playboy? Bullying others? Or bullying others? Ning Yifeng was a little annoyed. Zhao Ximing was speechless. I'm just saying. Why are you angry? Nonsense. Would you be angry if I told you that you're just a vase that's good for nothing? Ning Yifeng snorted coldly. How dare you? Zhao Ximing revealed a fierce look. Ning Yifeng smiled embarrassedly and waved his hand. Okay, let's save the nonsense for later. Hurry up and help find. Zhao Ximing rolled her eyes and began to search in the valley. Inside the ancient castle, Fatso asked, Boss, what do you think? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, He's arrogant but not arrogant. Not bad. Willow Tree's eyelids twitched. Young master, I beg you please hold back. Don't do anything rash. Qin Feiyang glanced at Willow Tree. Seeing his nervous face, he couldn't help but want to laugh. However, it could also be seen how prestigious the Vanga League was in the Black Tortoise world. Outside, the two of them searched the entire valley, but the result was the same as Qin Feiyang and the others. They didn't find anything. Ning Yifeng stood in the middle of the valley, looking at the treasure map in his hand, his brows tightly knitted together. Zhao Ximing walked to his side, glanced at the treasure map, and said faintly, I think this is a worthless map. Impossible. Ning Yifeng shook his head. Are you stupid? Is the treasure map definitely real? Even if it's real, it might have been taken by someone else first. Zhao Ximing said. That's true. Ning Yifeng said in realization. I told you that there's something wrong with your head. You don't believe me? What a waste of time. Go back and secretly return the treasure map to the Grand Deacon. Otherwise, you'll definitely be beaten. Zhao Ximing gloated. Are you happy that I'm beaten? Are you still my sister? Ning Yifeng said unhappily. I'm not your sister. Zhao Ximing rolled her eyes and said. Zhao Ximing, your words make me sad. Although the two of us aren't siblings, I've always treated you as my sister. Do you still have a conscience? Ning Yifeng said angrily. Tizi. Zhao Ximing's face was full of disdain. There's a good saying, beating is love, scolding is love. Looking at you guys quarreling here, I really don't have the heart to interrupt you. But suddenly, a mocking voice sounded in the sky. Who is it? Zhao Ximing and Ning Yifeng's face changed and quickly looked up. There's actually someone else? At the same time, inside the castle, Qin Feiyang and the others were also shocked. After coming back to his senses, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the scene quickly changed and finally locked onto the void above. A purple-clothed young man stood there. His age was similar to Ning Yifeng and Ning Yifeng. His thick black hair was tied behind his back, and he was playing with a jade pendant in his hand. His black gem-like eyes were suffused with a playful light. And this person's cultivation had also reached 5-star combat emperor. It's actually him. Willow Tree was shocked. Who? Fatso asked. The son of Fengtian Palace's palace master Li Chang. Willow Tree said. What? Another big shot? Fatso was shocked. What exactly is going on? Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing came to look for treasure, and Li Chang actually came too. Is there such a coincidence? Willow Tree raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered and said indifferently, I think this matter is not simple. Not simple? Willow Tree looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled mysteriously and said, Wait and see, maybe there will be a good show later. Outside, Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing looked at Li Chang in the sky, and their eyes flashed with a cold light. Obviously, the relationship between the two was not good. Zhao Ximing said, Why are you here? Li Chang took a step forward and landed in front of the two, and said jokingly, I'm here specifically to wait for your Vanga League. Waiting for my Vanga League? Zhao Ximing was stunned and said, What do you mean? Don't you understand? This is actually a scam. Li Chang smiled. A scam? Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing's faces were even more confused. Let me explain it to you like this. The treasure map in your hands was drawn by Fengtian Palace, and it was also us who deliberately sent it to your great deacon. But your great deacon didn't know, and thought he had picked up a treasure. Li Chang smiled as he played with the jade pendant. What? Their eyes trembled. Do you understand now? Actually, Fengtian Palace's target is also your great deacon, but I didn't expect that it would lead you two here. Things are really unpredictable. Li Chang shook his head and smiled. Zhao Ximing said in a deep voice, Why did Fengtian Palace do this? It's very simple. When you get this treasure map, whether it's real or not, your great deacon will come and take a look. And Fengtian Palace can ambush him here. Li Chang said. There was a murderous look in his eyes. What? You actually use such a despicable trick. Aren't you afraid of incurring the wrath of our Vanga League? Ning Yifeng said angrily. If it was in the past, we would definitely be afraid. After all, the foundations of our two sides are similar. If we really fight, both sides will suffer. But now, Li Chang raised the corner of his mouth. What now? Ning Yifeng said. You've heard of Qin Feiyang, right? Li Chang said. In the castle. Fatso said in astonishment. Boss, why is it related to you again? How would I know? Qin Feiyang was also very depressed. Could it be that he was born to be hated? Ning Yifeng looked at Li Chang and said, Do you still need to ask? Of course we know Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang destroyed the chief tower. The people of the Vanga League should feel very embarrassed. After all, the chief tower is the follower of the Vanga League. And what we need to do is to shift the blame to Qin Feiyang. What I mean is, after killing the great deacon, we will let people spread the news that Qin Feiyang killed your great deacon. At that time, when the Vanga League and Qin Feiyang are both injured, Fengtian Palace will come out to destroy the Vanga League and unify the Black Tortoise world. Li Chang laughed. You bastards are too shameless. Ning Yifeng shouted angrily. Shameless? My young master Feng, you can't be that naive, right? Our two forces have been at odds for so many years. Haven't we always been thinking of ways to get rid of each other? Although the great deacon didn't come this time, it's the same if you two come. Maybe killing the two of you will have a better effect than killing the great deacon. Chapter 1590. Looking at the arrogant and lively Li Chang outside, the corner of the fatty's mouth twitched fiercely. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, As expected, it's not that simple. However, is this person's brain stupid? How dare he say that he's going to frame you in front of you? Maybe he doesn't know that we're here. Willow Tree thought. No. If he's been lying in ambush here, then he should know. Qin Feiyang said. Knowing that you're here, he still dares to say it? Willow Tree was stunned. Don't forget, he's the son of the palace master of Fengtian Palace. I'm afraid that in his eyes, I'm just a little grasshopper who can jump around a little. And, if I'm not wrong, he's not the only one here. There are others who haven't shown up yet. After all, it's not a small matter to ambush the Grand Deacon of the Vanga League. It's impossible for Li Chang to be the only one. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Outside. When Ning Yifeng and Ning Yifeng heard Li Chang's words, their expressions changed slightly. They shouted, "Sister, let's go." Zhao Ximing didn't hesitate at all, and immediately rushed out of the valley. Li Chang raised the corner of his mouth. "Don't even think about touching Sister Meng." Ning Yifeng stood in front of Li Chang and said sternly, "It's useless even if you stop me." Li Chang laughed and said loudly, "Elders, let's do it." Boom. Before he could finish his sentence, 5 terrifying auras exploded outside the valley. Following closely, surges of quasi-divinity energy surged in from all directions. In less than 3 breaths, a divine power barrier appeared and sealed the entire valley. Zhao Ximing was about to rush out of the valley when she saw the situation. Her face turned pale, and she immediately turned back and returned to Ning Yifeng's side. "How is it?" Ning Yifeng asked nervously. "The valley is sealed. Judging from their aura, those 5 should be the first elder, second elder, third elder, fourth elder, and fifth elder of Fengtian Palace," Zhao Ximing said in a deep voice. "What?" Ning Yifeng's body and mind trembled, his face deathly pale. The great elder of the Fengtian Palace was comparable to their great deacon. The second elder and the other 3 were also experts of the same level. With 5 super powerhouses lying in ambush outside, this was simply a dead end. Not to mention them. Even if the Grand Deacon came, only death would await him. Whoosh. Zing. 5 aged figures entered the valley one after another. They stood in 5 different directions and surrounded Ning Yifeng and the other man. There were men and women among these 5 people. All of them had white hair and wrinkles all over their faces. However, their auras and gazes were extremely terrifying. They were like venomous snakes, causing people to tremble in fear. Seeing these 5 people appear, Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing's faces were filled with terror. My goodness! These 5 old men are all stage 10 false god realm experts. Willow Tree was dumbfounded. So what if you're at the 10th stage? Wasn't the pagoda master also at stage 10? Didn't we kill him in the end? Yu Huang sneered. It's completely different. You don't know whether it's the 10 great deacons of the Vanga League or the great elders of the Fengtian Palace. Each of them has a divine artifact and a divine art. Willow Tree said in a deep voice. Yes. This is the reason why they can become the giants of the Black Tortoise world. The other 6 great elders spoke one after another. Their faces were extremely solemn. Yu Huang was stunned and said, "In other words, there are 5 divine artifacts in front of us right now." Yes. Maybe there's more. Li Chang, Ning Yifeng, and Zhao Ximing, because of their identities, they might also have divine artifacts. Willow Tree said. Good, that's a total of 8 divine artifacts. Yu Huang was excited. Willow Tree and the other 6 great elders were stunned. What was the meaning of this? Were they planning to rob these people? What a joke. They were from the Vanga League and the Fengtian Palace. Young master, I have to remind you. You've already offended the Tianyang Empire, the Nether Hall, and the main tower. If we offend the Vanga League and the Fengtian Palace, then we'll really become the enemy of the entire Black Tortoise world. Willow Tree said meaningfully. Didn't the main tower already destroy us? Moreover, destroying the main tower is the same as offending the Vanga League. As for the Fengtian Palace, they don't look like good people. If we offend them, then so be it. What's there to be afraid of? Yu Huang didn't care at all. Willow Tree couldn't find a reason to refute Yu Huang's words. Outside, Ning Yifeng swept his gaze over the 5 elders. His face was extremely gloomy as he said, "Although our 2 sides have been sworn enemies for many years, I have always respected all of you seniors. However, I never imagined that all of you would actually be so despicable." One of the old women in black laughed sinisterly. As long as we can destroy the Vanga League and unify the Black Tortoise world, it doesn't matter what methods we use. Do you have any shame? The Everlasting Alliance wants to get rid of you as well. But have we ever done anything like this to Palace Bestowment in all these years? Zhao Ximing said angrily. The 5 of them didn't move at all. The old woman in black looked at Li Chang and laughed sinisterly. Haven't you had your eyes on Zhao Ximing for a long time? Do you want me to keep her for you? Li Chang was stunned. He looked at Zhao Ximing and shook his head. No need. There are many women in this world. She's not the only one. Not bad. A man shouldn't be tied down by a woman. The old woman in black nodded in approval. This person is a little scary. Fatso looked at Li Chang and muttered. Yes. If it were any other young man, they would definitely take the opportunity to possess a woman they've desired for a long time. But he didn't. This means that he's a very decisive person who cares about the big picture. But I don't think he's scary. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. If this person could be a little more humble, there was no doubt that he would be a very scary person. Unfortunately, although this person was decisive, his character was too arrogant. At this moment, Li Chang, who was outside, suddenly looked up and glanced at the void. He jokingly said, Qin Feiyang, how long are you going to hide in the dark and watch? Qin Feiyang? Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing were surprised. He's been lying in ambush here. Willow Tree's heart skipped a beat. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, What should we do now? What should we do? Nothing. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. His figure flashed and instantly appeared in the valley. You're Qin Feiyang? Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded. He took a step forward and landed not far away from Li Chang. He glanced at the 5 elders. Seeing him appear, the 5 elders were not surprised at all. Obviously, they already knew. Why are you here? Have you been bought over by Fengtian Palace? Zhao Ximing asked. Bought over? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned to look at Zhao Ximing and asked curiously. Then tell me, what can Fengtian Palace use to buy me over? How would I know? If you haven't been bought over by them, then why are you here? I don't believe there's such a coincidence in this world. Zhao Ximing said angrily. Then let me tell you, there really is such a coincidence in this world. Not long ago, one of my companions happened to meet you and happened to hear your conversation. So as early as half an hour ago, I was already here. Qin Feiyang said. Zhao Ximing and Ning Yifeng looked at each other. So many coincidences? Why did it feel so ridiculous? Zhao Ximing said. So you have nothing to do with Fengtian Palace? You can say no, but you can also say yes. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. He turned to look at Li Chang and said with a smile. You know I'm here, but you still dare to say that you want to frame me. Are you that confident? I dared to say it because I'm not afraid of being hurt by you. I know what you're capable of. However, my Fengtian Palace is not a clown like the Main Tower, Nether Hall, and Heavenly Sun Empire. Li Chang looked at him playfully. I didn't misjudge you. Not only are you confident, but you're also conceited. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Thank you for the compliment. Now I'll give you 2 choices. First, submit to the Fengtian Palace and obey the orders of the Fengtian Palace. Second, I'll send you and Ning Yifeng to hell. Li Chang said. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Actually, there's a 3rd choice. What choice? Li Chang said. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, Give me your divine artifacts and I'll leave immediately. I won't interfere in your matters. Impudent. The black-clothed old woman and the others were furious when they heard this. Li Chang raised his eyebrows slightly. What's going on? Are you trying to rob Li Chang and the others? Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing were also shocked. With me here, your plan may not succeed. But as long as I leave, Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing will be your puppets. You can do whatever you want with them. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Chang and said with a smile. Haha. Li Chang suddenly laughed and shook his head. You're also a very confident and conceited person. Qin Feiyang said. I'm confident, but I'm not conceited. There's still a little difference between us. Interesting. In so many years other than the Vanga League, you're the first person who dares to challenge my Fengtian Palace. Li Chang laughed. In so many years, your Fengtian Palace is also the first person who dares to ignore me, Qin Feiyang. It's indeed interesting. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Li Chang's smile froze as he looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. This guy is really, as the rumors say, lawless. Zhao Ximing muttered. Maybe he really has the confidence to go against Fengtian Palace. Ning Yifeng said secretly. Then let's wait and see, Zhao Ximing murmured, looking at Qin Feiyang. Her bright eyes flashed with an inexplicable brilliance. Haha. Li Chang finally came back to his senses and laughed. Kid, your arrogance is really beyond my imagination. You must continue to be arrogant later, don't let me down. I promise I won't. Qin Feiyang laughed. Humph. Chapter 1591. Boom. The old woman and the other four immediately released their divine power. 5 false gods, and all of them were at the 10th stage. When they released their divine power at the same time, the destructive power was astonishing. The valley was instantly shattered, and the earth collapsed crazily. Qin Feiyang didn't hesitate to activate his armor. But at the same time, Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing also had a battle suit appear on their bodies. Ning Yifeng's battle suit was completely golden, as if it was cast in gold, which imperceptibly added a bit of majesty to him. Zhao Ximing's battle suit was a silk skirt, as thin as a cicada's wings. It fluttered in the wind, making her look like a dancing butterfly. Qin Feiyang looked at the two, his eyes shining. The 2 battle suits were both glowing with divine light, and they both had a strong divine power. Obviously, they were also 2 divine artifacts. However, even if they activated their armor and battle suits, they still couldn't block the impact of the divine power. Blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. Their bodies were like fallen leaves in the wind, unable to stand steadily. Brother Qin, this can't go on. Ning Yifeng shouted anxiously. Obviously, he had pinned his hopes on Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and with a wave of his hand, the willow tree and Yuhuang suddenly appeared. 1 man and 1 beast immediately released their divine power to contend with the old woman and the other 4. There was a rumbling sound. The divine power barrier that enveloped the yellow sand valley instantly collapsed. The divine power rolled in all directions, destroying heaven and earth. But Willow Tree and Yuhuang's cultivation couldn't be compared to the old woman and the other 4, so they couldn't resist. It's useless. Just give up struggling. Li Chang laughed wildly. Is that so? Qin Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth. The next moment, the 6 great elders appeared in front of him in unison. What? Aren't they the elders of the main tower? You didn't kill them? Li Chang's smile froze. Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing were also shocked. As for the old woman in black and the other 4, their expressions didn't change much, because they were confident. Even if the willow tree, Yuhuang and the 6 elders worked together, they could kill them one by one. Qin Feiyang didn't answer Li Chang. He looked at the 6 elders and shouted, "Attack!" Boom. The 6 gritted their teeth and immediately joined the battle. The divine power surged like a waterfall. In addition to Baiming Yuhuang and Willowwood, Qin Feiyang had a total of 8 false divinities. Although their strength's strength, they could barely resist the divine power's divine power. Sister, send a message immediately, Ning Yifeng said. Zhao Ximing nodded, nodding her head, seeing Zhao Ziziz's face. The 5 elders, as if news of this spread back to the Eternal Alliance. Then with the Eternal Alliance's strength and Qin Feiyang's help, even his celestial bestowment palace wouldn't be able to handle it. Quick! Li Chang shouted. The old woman and the other 4 exchanged glances, killing intent surging in their eyes. Clang! In the next moment, 5 divine artifacts flew out from between their eyebrows. They were 5 combat swords. Moreover, regardless of their length, width, or color, they were all exactly the same. They were entirely golden, shining with 10,000 streaks of divine light. The terrifying sword aura shattered the mountains and the earth. Damn it! Seeing this, Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing's faces turned pale. Although they had battle suits, they couldn't recover them at all. How could they withstand the attack of 5 divine artifacts? Young Master Chang Shui, Willow Tree shouted. How terrifying was the recovery of 5 divine artifacts. Although he had the 7-star sword and Yuhuang had the snake scale, they were no match for the 5 of them. Hearing Willow Tree's shout, Qin Feiyang took out Chang Shui without hesitation and threw it to Willow Tree. "Yu Huang and the 6 of you, come with me to recover Chang Shui. Today we will kill them all. With Chang Shui in my hand, the world is mine." Willow Tree's confidence soared. After a shout, the power of the false god rushed toward Chang Shui. Yu Huang and the 6 elders also did their best to recover Chang Shui. What did it mean to have 8 false gods recover at the same time? In the blink of an eye, Chang Shui shone brightly and covered the sky. More than half of the Qingyang mountain range was annihilated in an instant. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Those who lived outside the mountain range sensed the terrifying aura and fled for their lives. Is this the Chang Shui that destroyed the Qinghong sword? At the same time, Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing were also shocked. Li Chang, the old woman, and the others were also shocked and full of greed. "Kill him and snatch Pale Snow." Li Chang roared and then disappeared. Qin Feiyang looked at the place where Li Chang disappeared and narrowed his eyes. It seemed that this person also had a space divine item. Ning Yifeng watched Li Chang disappear and said angrily, "Damn it, I should have asked my father for a space divine item. What's the use of saying this now?" Zhao Ximing glared at him and looked around. The old woman and the others were still in a circle, surrounding them. It was impossible to escape. Chang Shui's power was too terrifying. If they didn't hide, they would have been killed by Chang Shui before Willow Tree, and the others could kill the old woman and the others. However, just as they were in despair, Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The two immediately felt their bodies lighten, and then they arrived at a strange place. Where is this? The two of them looked around in bewilderment. This place was not big, but there were quite a lot of people and beasts. There was an altar next to them, on which there was an iron box and a pill furnace with a cluster of black pill fire floating above. "This is my space divine item." Qin Feiyang's voice sounded. He stood beside the two, but he didn't look at them. As he spoke, he waved his hand and an image quickly appeared in the void in front of them. In the image, Willow Tree and the others were constantly reviving Chang Shui. The old woman and the others were also frantically reviving their battle swords. Space divine item? Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing heard Qin Feiyang's voice and were slightly stunned. They then turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Ning Yifeng smiled and said, "Thank you, Brother Qin." Zhao Ximing also immediately revived the image crystal. Golden Wolf King. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang shouted. The Golden Wolf King, who was lying on the ground, suddenly jumped up and bit Zhao Ximing's image crystal. The sudden change shocked the two and made them quickly retreat. Zhao Ximing said angrily, "Qin Feiyang, what do you mean?" "I don't mean anything. I'm just worried that your Vanga League people will come and kill me too. After all, I'm the one who killed your little follower Ta." Qin Feiyang said with a smile without looking back. Zhao Ximing shouted, "Then are you sure you can kill Li Chang and the others?" Qin Feiyang turned to look at Zhao Ximing and said lightly, "Even if I'm not sure, I can't let your Vanga League get involved." "That's too much." Zhao Ximing gritted her teeth. "Sister, calm down. Let me talk to him." Ning Yifeng secretly comforted her. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Brother Qin, if it weren't for you this time, Sister Meng, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to escape death. Therefore, you can be considered as our savior. How can we do something ungrateful? You can't judge a book by its cover. How do I know you won't do such a thing?" Qin Feiyang said. Ning Yifeng frowned and said, "Then what do you want to let me pass the news back?" "There's no room for negotiation." Qin Feiyang shook his head. But before his voice fell, a cold light flashed in Zhao Ximing's eyes. She rushed to Lu Hong and grabbed Lu Hong's neck. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. White-eyed wolf, Fatso Ling Yunfei Luo Qingzhu, Dan Wankai in short. All the people and beasts in the castle immediately got up and stared at Zhao Ximing gloomily. Especially Lu Zheng. He suddenly jumped up and rushed to the front of Zhao Ximing. Murderous intent surged in his eyes as he shouted, "If you dare to hurt her, I won't let you go." Zhao Ximing didn't care at all and said coldly, "If you dare to take another step forward, I will kill her." "Don't." Lu Zheng hurriedly waved his hand and quickly retreated. Ning Yifeng was also a little caught off guard and said, "Sister, what are you doing?" These people are desperados. And they also know that because of the headquarters, the Vanga League won't let them go. So I dare to conclude that they will take the opportunity to imprison us and use us as hostages to threaten my father. Zhao Ximing said in a deep voice. Ning Yifeng was stunned. He glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others and immediately became vigilant. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't blame us. We have no choice." Ridiculous. Who just said that they won't do ungrateful things? Fatso said angrily. There's no other way. As Brother Qin said, you can't judge a book by its cover. We have to prevent you from using us as hostages. But I can guarantee that when my father comes, I will help you put in a good word and ask him to be merciful. Ning Yifeng said. What if your father insists on killing us? Fatso said. Then I have no choice but to help you collect your bodies. This is better than leaving your bodies in the wilderness. After Ning Yifeng finished speaking, he took out the image crystal. However, Ning Yifeng and Zhao Ximing did not know that one person was missing in the ancient castle. The missing one was the Spirit Serpent Emperor. Generally in the ancient castle, whether it was the White-Eyed Wolf, the Golden Wolf King, or the Double-Winged Snow Eagle, they would shrink their bodies. The Spirit Serpent Emperor was no exception. In the ancient castle, its body would usually shrink to half a foot long. In addition, Fatso and the others were blocking in front. If one did not pay special attention, it would be difficult to discover its existence. As soon as Zhao Ximing and Ning Yifeng entered the ancient castle, they kidnapped Lu Hong, and did not have time to check carefully. However, Qin Feiyang and the others knew, because this was Qin Feiyang's instruction. Lu Hong also knew, because at this moment, the Spirit Serpent Emperor had already crawled into her arms, and was quietly approaching Zhao Ximing's wrist. The image crystal in Ning Yifeng's hand quickly recovered. But the moment before it recovered, the Spirit Serpent Emperor bared its fangs and bit the back of Zhao Ximing's hand. Although she was wearing a battle suit, her hands were exposed. What is it? She immediately cried out in alarm and hurriedly looked down. At the same time, Lu Hong grabbed Zhao Ximing's wrist, a cold light surging in her eyes. She pulled hard and Zhao Ximing involuntarily released her 5 fingers. At the same time, Lu Zheng also stepped forward and kicked Zhao Ximing's stomach without the slightest mercy. Ah! Zhao Ximing immediately screamed and flew out, smashing hard on the wall behind her. Her face was slightly pale, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. If it were not for that battle suit, Lu Zheng's kick would have taken her life. After all, Lu Zheng's current strength was quite terrifying. It seemed to be slow, but all this happened in an instant. Ning Yifeng heard Zhao Ximing scream and turned his head to look, but it was already too late. Buzz. At this moment, the image crystal in his hand was fully recovered. An illusory figure quickly appeared. But before the shadow completely appeared, the Golden Wolf King next to him pounced again, revealing its ghastly fangs and smashing the image crystal in one bite. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.